Hello, everybody. We're back live. Welcome to episode number 3 now of the No Punches Pulled podcast. Delighted to be joined by my co-hosts. We've got up top Mr. Liam Tully and down low Mr. Jay's Fight Talk, aka Jay Murphy. How are we, boys?
Oh, good, man. Ready to rock and roll.
Ready to rock and roll. Fresh off the watch along over on Jay's Fight Talk earlier. So if, I'm sure quite a few were joining you, but if you haven't, go ahead and watch that. Very jealous I couldn't be a part of that earlier on today, but we'll fire on. We'll go straight away, boys. We've got plenty to talk about on the show this week. So we'll fire away from, Japan, lunchtime. Inoue versus Doheny. You boys were in position. Let's Liam get your thoughts first of all about what happened.
Okay, we got the result we were expecting, but perhaps not in the way we were expecting it to come. Doheny was a lot more solid and took a lot more risks than I thought any of us were expecting to take. And he, at times, Inoue never looked like he was running out of ideas or was completely in trouble, but he was frustrated for the fourth round of that fight. He was frustrated, taking punches he didn't want to take, and he couldn't seem to get a grip of Doheny and what he was doing. And I said quite a few times on the live, and I'm saying it again now, Doheny looks a lot bigger than Inoue in there, and that strength he was using just to push him off and hold him at bay, that seems to be something Inoue struggled to get to grips with. It looked innocuous, the stoppage at the time, but I had noticed at the end of the 6th round, just as the bell went, Inoue landed nothing strong, but just touched him on the back of his back with a body shot, and he was shaking his back and his legs out as he went back to the corner. And didn't see the corner during the breaking round, so wasn't sure, but you could tell as soon as he came out, he went to push back off that back leg, and it was completely gone. He said in his changing room afterwards, it's almost as if his legs just shut down. He had no movement or feeling in the leg. He went to step back and he thought everything had gone from underneath him. So,
did you notice, Liam, the combo before that? I'm sure you did as well, Jay. The combo before that, Doheny shook out a little bit as well after. There was definitely, he definitely was working him out to the body for me in a way, for sure.
He was on the back foot the most he'd been in that fight. That was the most dominant we've seen in Inoue the last 15, 20 seconds of the 6th round. And I think me and you said it, Jay, didn't we, as we were watching along? That's the most dominant spell we'd seen. And it looked like, I said all along, it looked like Inoue was downloading data. He was comfortable in second gear, whereas Doheny was having to go through his gears. He was in 4th, possibly even 5th gear from as early as the 2nd or 3rd rounds, whereas Inoue always looked comfortable. He was taking shots, but he never seemed to be in trouble, which is a sign of a good fighter. If you can bring your fighter on and help tire them out as well, because Doheny was starting to dip slightly. He was still in the fight. There's nothing to say he was imminently about to go before that injury occurred to him at the end of the 6th round, but he was starting to drop off, and Inoue was only starting to move up through his gears there. I'm not sure if you agree with that, Joe.
We were discussing it as it was sort of unfolding. I mean, Doheny has a sort of, I wouldn't say he changed his style for the fight, but I noticed he was using the sort of the Philly shell a lot and sort of leaning back but staying within range. And although we know that Inoue likes to sort of download data and take a look and then come out, very similar to like Floyd Mayweather. He used to do that. He'd give away around the 2 and then he'd just step on the gas. But the awkward movement of Doheny and as you said, Liam, ordinarily boxers will push to sort of reset themselves, but he was sort of really slinging him so that then Inoue was out of rhythm, had to reset himself. And by the time he reset himself, it was already Doheny was already in front of him, unloading. So he was sort of not struggling. Struggling is probably the wrong word, but he was having difficulty getting into punching range, getting out of punching range without getting caught himself. And as we said, he was taking not concussive shots, but I think he looked frustrated more than anything. And I'm not going to say that the back injury did him a favour, because even though I personally had Doheny winning the fight, only marginally, I had him winning the fight, or potentially a draw. It was closer than anybody expected. But when the stoppage came, it did look like Inoue had started to step up and Doheny was gassing, like he'd taken everything he had to get to the 6 rounds, whereas Inoue was just coasting through the first 6. So I do feel that the inevitability was, it was inevitable that we were going to get sort of a barrage and an onslaught from Inoue, because he sort of looked to be finding his rhythm and figuring out, and Doheny started to look. I mean, I know he tried. I mean, I've trapped a sciatic nerve in my back, and I can tell you now, boys, the pain is unbearable. I've had some bad shit happen to me in the past in terms of physical injuries, and the sciatic nerve is probably one of the most painful things I've ever had. It was all down one side. My leg was numb. At one stage, I couldn't stand up straight, or I couldn't bend down. I'd sort of get stuck in certain positions. But Doheny looked, for me, too comfortable to be pulled out of there. And I don't mean that like he was looking for a way out, but it's like in his head he thought, I'm knackered anyway, and I'd given me all sort of thing.
It's like I said yesterday, Jay, like at 37 years old, all them miles on the clock, eventually it'll catch up with you. I'm just going to do some comments, guys. They're flying in thick and fast just to keep everybody in the loop. Big up Jabbit Boxing. Thanks as always, Jabs, for joining us. Absolute legend. Another legend, Jam's Boxing Chat. Big up Jam. Big up Sam, Jay and Liam. Have a great show, fellas. Appreciate it.
Put this out there that there's a sponsorship opportunity going. So if anybody's after putting their business in front of tens of thousands of people on a regular basis, then Jam's your man to see. He's got a couple of opportunities.
Boxing Media Hub, shout out Jam Boxing Chat. Most definitely. Good point on that, Jay. Good man.
Liam, my invoice, mate.
Liam had a quick idea about a name for your new YouTube channel, Tully's Tough Talk Boxing. Jam's on the payroll for that, I think. I do like that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Give you a commission for that, mate. I won't forget that one.
Absolutely. Big up David Corn, Undisputed Fight Talks. Joined us again as he did last week. David, thanks very much, mate. We appreciate it. We've got EBU with us in his boxing universe. Thank you very much for joining us. I learned to deal with Doheny in R6. Round 6 was ruthless. Sorry, Doheny was very awkward. Yeah, for sure. I think Doheny was incredibly awkward to hit. He was kind of using the shoulder roll almost a little bit, wasn't he? In some of the rounds. He was. Like he definitely. I don't think he had too much ambition in a lot of the rounds, but like he did make. I'd say made Inoue work. I'm using that kind of lightly, but at the same time, I'll just get through a couple more comments here before we go back into it, boys. Didn't have Doheny ahead. Yeah, I had Inoue ahead at the time, but the cards were one judge had it a draw. I think Jay, you had Doheny up, didn't you?
I did, but I've since watched it back, concentrating fully, because obviously myself and Liam were talking as well as what sort of half watching the fight. When I've watched it back, I have scored it 3-3.
Yeah. I think it was close enough. 4-2 Inoue. I think I had it. But yeah, 3-all and 4-2. I definitely think that was there. Jam said end of the 6th, start of the 7th was conclusive. Yeah, he was breaking him down at that point. Jam definitely. Inoue's missing that spring in his step for the first few rounds. Yeah, I think he kind of just let, I hate to use that phrase because they all say it download in the data, but I think it probably was a bit more of a case of that. Big up DJ Pat. Thanks for joining us, sir. It's December, Sam Goodman. April, we're going to get into that one, Pat. Yeah, definitely looks like Goodman. Then April, Inoue. I'd love it to be MJ, but looks like him and Junto are going to go on the same card in April. Then hopefully an all-Japanese showdown at the Tokyo Dome next year. I think that as well. EBU for sure. Yeah, he was cautious after the Lewis Neri knockdown in the first round in his last fight. I think definitely. Obviously, TJ Doheny being a southpaw as well, lefty. Lewis Neri got him on that one in the last fight too. Big up Håkan Johansson. Thanks for joining us, Håkan. Top man. Hope you're doing well. Jam said Defo India look cautious, like being caught against Neri. Absolutely for sure. That southpaw stand. Doheny was awkward. He was very good.
Sorry to.
No, you're right, mate.
Me and Liam noticed something. He came in really low, sort of crouching really low, and then he had his legs really wide, and a couple of times he sort of slipped and his legs widened, and he was really sort of unsteady on his feet. He changed his style for me, and I mean, look, he was in the fight. Whatever tactics he had seemed to be working. I believe that fight might have been different if he wasn't necessarily 37. He looked every bit of his 37, the way that sort of his energy bar seemed to just zap out sort of round 6. But yeah, I mean, it was an intriguing and as a closer Inoue fight that we've seen maybe since Doheny. It's they're not normally as evenly matched. For any more
than a run out, wasn't it, Liam? It was a run out for Inoue. It was nothing more really. Doheny landed a couple of decent left hands over the top, couple of decent body shots in the 3rd round. I think it was. Doheny won the 3rd round. Definitely, that was his best round of the fight for me.
I don't believe Inoue wanted many of those body shots. I saw us changing his stance, and he lowered his elbows, sort of around 3. So he was definitely feeling the body shots. I'm not going to say they were hurting him, but the way he changed his arms and positioned himself, it was like he had in the back of his head that he didn't want to take too many of those because, you know, there is an accumulative build-up. They always say, don't they, fill the basement with water or something, don't the Americans say?
Yeah, that's it.
And you know, whatever game plan that Team Doheny came up with, I mean, they should be proud of themselves. It was a freak injury. I think me and Liam were saying that I've seen it twice before. It was Sandy Ryan's brother, Dave Ryan. I think he had some kind of crazy back injury.
Ryan Burnett.
And Ryan Burnett, was the other one. And it ended Ryan Burnett's career, if we're honest.
Unified champ at the time.
Yeah. Go on, Liam. Sorry, mate.
No, you're all good. I think the biggest thing for me, and I sort of hinted at this analogy when us boys had a quick chat earlier, was the best comparison I could make for the performance we saw from Inoue today is similar to how we saw Usyk fight against Bellew. He stayed in second to third gear, let Bellew get shots off, let him get close, let him get confident. And okay, it happened slightly earlier than we saw with Bellew. I think it was round 9 Usyk took him out in the end. He started moving through the gears. As Doheny's starting to gas, as he's starting to feel the pressure that he's had to put in to be competitive in the fight, he just gradually moved up through the gears. He didn't even reach 4th gear, I'd say. I'd say he was just touching 3rd gear today, but he made those improvements. And whereas Doheny is thinking, right, I'm in the fight here. I've had getting through round 6. Oh, is he flinching? Oh, is he feeling a few of these shots? Oh, he's not getting his shots off, is he? I'm in this fight. He just then started to take over. The writing was on the wall. The ending was coming for Doheny. Don't get me wrong. The back injury made it premature, but the ending was coming. Inoue was starting to turn the tides. But yeah, I could just compare it to Usyk Bellew back in 2018 or whenever that fight was, in terms of he allowed the challenger to look good because he had to fight in such a high gear whilst remaining in so low himself, keeping enough in the tank.
Liam, I completely agree with that. I know exactly where you're coming from. So in the Tony Bellew-Usyk fight, Bellew had to fight at 100% of his ability to stick with Usyk's 50% of his ability. And then when Bellew couldn't fight at that level for any more, he unraveled and Usyk stopped him. Probably similar to what TJ Doheny did this afternoon as well. Go for a few more comments here. And I said, so 59-55, that was 4 rounds up at the time. Same as 2 of the judges. Yeah, fair enough. I think that was probably a fair card as well. Jabs has said body shots starting to land. Yeah, the writing was on the wall. Absolutely. Jam said Doheny was crouching a lot. I noticed that as well. Didn't land enough with any note because of that unorthodox style he came in with. Yeah, tried to probably offset Inoue a little bit, but again, Inoue's too good. You're not going to pull the wool over his eyes. Absolutely. And I said Doheny performed better than Butler for me. Doheny, former champion who won and defended the belt. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he maybe showed a bit more ambition than Paul Butler. You know, ultimately Joe Gallagher and Butler and that in the changing room afterwards were gloating about lasting 11 rounds, I think, which I don't know, as a world champion, if that's the kind of right attitude to have. You know, you should be trying to win the fight, in my opinion, but who am I to judge him for that? Jam said they have more of a go than Butler. Yeah, I agree with that, Jam. Butler survived with that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, there's no point going into win. That was for the undisputed bantamweight title. His fight against Paul Butler, and you know, it's the biggest stage and biggest amount of belts and prizes you can win in the sport. And you know, you need to show a little bit of ambition. So yeah, he was on his bike to survive. Pat mentioned it earlier. Jay, I'm going to come to you on this one first. So next steps for Inoue. Bob Arum's given a little 3-fight plan. He all but confirmed what we already knew anyway. I think his IBF, it's WBO. I think his mandatory is Sam Goodman. That fight could have been this fight easily, but Goodman opted to take another one. Didn't look too great last time out. So Christmas Eve, I think that one's going to be, Jay. And then the plan after that is an April card in Las Vegas where Junto Nakatani and Inoue are going to be fighting on the same card, which will build into an absolute mega fight in Japan, probably around about this time next year, you could say. For me, I want your thoughts as well, Jay. That will probably all but confirm Inoue staying at 122 pounds. Nakatani's not going to go up to featherweight and fight him. So that probably means that we're not going to get Inoue at 126. Yeah, just give me some thoughts on all of that.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I was a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. I thought they were going to say, look, this is it. We're moving up. We want all the belts. We want all the champions. And it was sort of a playing it safe sort of thing. You know, we'll defend our title against our mandatory next. then we're looking at possibly this super fight. And, I mean, who's he going to box in Vegas?
The hope is MJ, but I can't see that fight coming up. That fight's too scored. That fight's scarred now. I think, that's a 1-2-2. Yeah.
Did you see Matchroom's tweet just after the fight finished today?
What
photo of MJ saying good performance in Inoue, but this guy's ready for you. Essentially,
that's the only fight for him at 120 after Goodman. It's the only
fight anybody really wants to see. It's the only fight for me that asks questions prior to it. I know I said earlier this morning flippantly that I'd bet on Doheny, and I did. And I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. But and I sort of played on, he's got a chance, but we all ultimately, I mean, we were within a round or so, weren't we? We all sort of said round 6.
Yeah, well, I called a blowout, to be fair, and wasn't that. I was a few rounds out, to be fair.
Yeah, but I think you can't be right all the time, can you, Sam? You'd have died out the rest of your life. In a row. Did you? I never heard you talk about it, if I'm honest, pal. I just think that the MJ fight is a fight that is potentially a 50-50 fight. MJ's saying the right things, his promoter's saying the right things, but ultimately I don't think that fight's going to happen. I think it'll be another somebody off the top 10 maybe.
I don't think Bob would want to deal with that kind of thing. I'm just going to go through a couple of comments, Liam, and I'll come to you on your thoughts on that. My bad. I did say Christmas Eve. It's normally New Year's Eve, isn't it, that they do the Japan shows. So no, Jam said no. So no Monster versus Nakatani, October 13th, 14th on the 7 world titles in 2 days out in Tokyo. That's his birthday. He's hoping for a Monster present. Yeah, no, that's happening next month, isn't it? The Nakatani and the other Inoue headlining and back-to-back nights on 13th, 14th. You won't see Monster Inoue, I don't think, until December, Jam. But still, great couple of fights for you, mate, on your birthday. So that'll be a good one for you. Hawkins made me laugh here. Inoue ducking Liam Davis in Telford. Come on, Liam Davis.
Liam Davis is not a big enough name. I'm really sorry. I like him. He's a Brit. I back him all day, every day.
I love Liam Davis.
So do I.
But
unfortunately, nobody outside of Telford and the surrounding area knows about him, and that is with the utmost respect, right? But nobody outside of the UK is calling for Liam Davis to fight Inoue.
But mate, Chris Eubank Jr. said that the IBO is a recognised belt. He's IBO champion. Eubank Jr. said that belt's important.
We can fight Eubank Jr. then, can't he? Because he needs a bloody decent fight. And I think, Liam Davis will probably give him a better fight than the dude that he's fighting on the
on the better BF card.
Yeah. Again, with the utmost disrespectful respect. But no, Liam Davis, I want to see that fight. I'd love to see that fight. I don't think that's going to happen until he's mandated, and then they're going to have to fight.
No, Inoue will be gone by then. He'll either be retired
they're not going to make that fight. I think it's a risky fight for him as well. I really do. I mean, Liam Davis
would be a 3-4 round war, that because Davis doesn't mess about. He always goes in to try and stop. Inoue will fight fire with fire, and you'd have to fancy Inoue to get him out of there. But geez, it'd be a fun few rounds. That
be a good scrap, and he's unbeaten. So we've never really seen him tested. So but I don't think he's ducking him. I don't think he's a big enough draw.
Yeah, I agree with Pat here, Liam. Yeah, MJ, like you said, MJ calling him out, but it's Bob. Bob's steering the ship for Inoue after a member. Yeah, Bob's doing that, and if he's got a 3-fight plan with him, he's basically said it today. He's not gonna veer off from that whatsoever. Jam said neutral called a Doheny win, and yeah, he did do himself proud. Absolutely, it was a solid performance. I completely disregarded Doheny myself, so he did block me on X a few months ago for disregarding him, but I don't know if I'll forgive him about that. But
beans on toast in my house. I put the mortgage money on Doheny, unfortunately, at 40-1.
Some love coming in for Hawkan for Jam. Big up both of you, absolutely. Jam saying so true, Jay, for what you're saying. And is saying Japanese cards are knocking out the park. The Japanese cards, couldn't agree more. They are absolutely fantastic, these Japanese cards. Liam?
Yeah, no, just one question I was going to ask you, boys, because I stumbled across in the aftermath of the fight this afternoon an interview Bob Arum done in Inoue's last fight in Japan before COVID. The plan is exact. near enough quote for quote at that point were, you watch this young man, ladies and gentlemen, once he gets talking English, once we get him out to America, he's not going to be coming back here. He's going to become a global star on a level to Manny Pacquiao. So my question is, there's people in the comments as well, that hasn't worked out, but has that been hindered by his appeal in Japan or by the global pandemic that meant he was restricted on what he could do until last year, really?
I just think he's comfortable, right? He's getting multi-million-dollar fights in his back garden.
Yeah, doesn't have to travel.
He's a megastar. He's an absolute megastar.
Oh, he is.
He doesn't seem the kind of guy that's interested in cruising down the strip in a Ferrari with, dropping 50 grand in a casino.
No business.
He's about the business. The guy's young. He's got a young family. He's at home. He's making life-changing, generational wealth. Why would he be clambering to learn English and pander to a Western market? There's absolutely no reason for him to, and I don't believe he has to. For me, he's
less money too. Less money.
Less money. But for me, I'm a boxing purist. I've been a boxing fan for 40 years. He is number 2 on my pound-for-pound list of current champions. He's one above Terence Crawford, just on body of work and activity. He's
we'll get into that one. Yeah,
he's number 2 behind Usyk. But what I'm saying is, I'm not basing that. So if he moved to America and spoke perfect, fluent English in a bloody Texas accent, I wouldn't move him up to number 1. He will stay exactly wherever he's meant to be, irrespective of where he fights. And I believe that's
just
how
imagine Inoue with a Texas accent.
Yeah.
Hey, and I completely agree with you. It's just interesting for me seeing that interview from Bob. Obviously, the world's changed a lot in 4 years with the pandemic. How different Inoue's path could have been. If he could have had the Mega 2020 where he had those 2 fights in Vegas and things,
it'd have been a megastar everywhere, as opposed to just at home.
They were trying to tell him that he had to go to America and conquer it and all that. I'm just going to go through a couple of comments here. Sorry, boys.
That Amazon Prime deal he's got now in Japan is flipping huge. He's making so much.
Oh yeah.
The big wigs have always said to break boxing, you have to break America. They say the same about music, don't they? Oh, if you don't break America, you'll never do anything. There's megastars over here that are not even, they can walk down the street in America. They're multimillionaires. They've got platinum tracks on the wall and they all live in big mansions. So the world's a totally different place now. Yeah. You can make your legacy and money without pandering to the American market.
Yeah, Jams has said boxing on Tuesday is the best. Absolutely love it, mate. That's a great point. Don't think they'd risk, Davis Ender says. And then with Randy, we've sorted this one out in the comments. Ducking Davis, I think Hawkan was just having a bit of jest in the comments there. And it says he's from 25 miles away from Doheny's town, so big up the local man. Yeah, love that one. Jams has said Hawkan's just having a joke. Inoue's made it clear he has no interest in becoming a Western star, no interest in talking English, and good for him. Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely, he doesn't need to. The man's doing absolute business in his home country and rewarding his own people.
Bob Arum, as we've said before, I think you said it, Sam, he's jumping on a jet and flying to Japan in his crimpled bloody suit to sit ringside and watch Inoue, right? That tells you everything you need to know. That guy's 117 years old or whatever he is. He's do you know what I'm saying? He's not daft. He knows where his bread's buttered, and that he's his biggest star. I don't care what you say. Inoue makes him more money than any of them.
There's not many people that Bob do that at his age. He likes his Vegas fights. He likes to stay in the same hotel, go to the same arenas. There's only one man in the world, and Inoue is that guy. And
I'm joking about your suit, Bob. Don't be sending the guys around.
Just a few more, boys, and we'll keep it going. 55k versus Neary. Yeah, why leave Japan for? Yeah, exactly. Completely agree, Jam. Completely the right thing to do.
It wasn't 55. Oh yeah. I was talking about Neary.
Yeah, 55k was in the Tokyo Dome. Yeah, and it's given us Usyk 1 and Inoue 2. But that's the next chat that we're gonna get into after this. The boys are burying the beef. Jam saying he thought he was calling the monster a quacker for not going to Telford. I'm calling you a quacker, Inoue. Quack, quack. Get to Telford.
Doheny on it. He'll give it to Inoue about.
Yeah, exactly. David Undisputed Fight Talk. Got plenty of American fans on the Twitter, and they're all getting up to watch Inoue. Yeah, it's very early in the States, and I saw a lot of American presence on Twitter this morning.
4 a.m. is the same as we do, isn't it? For American cards, exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jay spitting facts as per usual. Big up Jay's Fight Talk. So pound for pound rankings, I want them from both of you here before we move into we're going to cover a couple of the fights on the undercard. I didn't catch too many of them with working, but I know you boys want to talk about some of that. So we'll go undercard then, pound for pound. That makes more sense, doesn't it? So Higa against Takai. Liam, talk me through what was probably the best fight on the card.
Mate, absolutely. An absolute, I think I jammed something on early on in the fight and said this is an absolute war, and it was a complete and utter firefight. Both guys throwing absolute bombs, letting their hands go from round 1, and it did not stop for 12 rounds. And I think I said to Jay on his live earlier, if that fight was at middleweight, cruiserweight, or anything like that, everyone is already waxed and lyrical about it, calling it a fight of the year contender. But for me, that was a fight of the year contender. Sitting on the edge of the sofa watching that, again, I had to get on a live with this man. I had to quickly go jump in the shower and sort myself out. It was one of those fights that was absolutely on the line until the last round. You didn't know which way it was going to go. And it just stayed in the balance for 12 rounds. Neither man took a backward step. And the best part is at the end of the fight, they had big smiles on their face. They gave each other a hug and they walked out. They helped each other out of the ring after the decision had been announced.
It was strange though, wasn't it? In the last round, Higa was sort of taking a barrage, and then it looked like he'd gone. He dropped down to his butt, but then stood straight back. I've never seen anything like that. It's like he'd given up, and he fell, didn't he? And then he just got back up.
I jumped up off the sofa. I thought Higa was gone at that point. The way he crouched out, I thought he was looking for the bottom rope. It's almost as if he thought he was a couple of inches further back and he was going to take sort of step on the bottom rope so the referee was giving him a break, because he had taken a barrage from the first 10 seconds.
He just got up.
Yeah. And if you look at the scorecards, Taki needed that 12th round, otherwise he was losing his belt. So Taki sticking it on him for 3 minutes of that round, and he had left in his gas tank, won the world title, but that was far and away an absolute firefight.
It's a shame that Thiago Higa's at 29 announced his retirement after the fight. I read on X. Yeah, well, I saw a well-known account tweet that.
I'd like to assume that he's made a considerable amount of money to be able to do that at 29, because that's young to retire without a serious injury. So,
unless that's a knee-jerk reaction.
But it might change his mind. But look, I know boxing from the inside. I've got a brother that's the game chewed up and spat out. So I've seen, and I've also got a friend that was a world champion that's living off the trappings of success. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum from the inside. Boxing's sport in general is cruel. You know, it uses us for what it needs, and pays us as little as possible. Well, I'm talking like I'm a sportsman. Uses them and pays them as little as possible. If he's in a position to be able to walk away at the top level at 29, all power to him. I hope that is the case. All power to him.
Definitely. Quick one on Ismael Barroso, Liam.
He was dominated from the first bell till he was stopped after the 2 knockdowns in the night. But he had a couple of moments in, I think it was the 4th and 6th round. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, where he cracked with a couple of right hands and he looked like what he done to Kevin Mitchell and O'Hara Davis was going to happen all over again. He just kept walking forward for the whole 9 rounds. And in the end,
it's about 70, doesn't he, Barroso?
Yeah, gives me hope.
His Fight Talk's coming out.
I'll take him on.
It was his corner.
Like, go on, I'm ready.
Mams Taylor, pick up the phone.
I'm ready. You've got my number. And my other number is smaller than the rest of them.
Sorry, Liam, I'll come back to you now. The comments are flying in, so just want to keep everybody in the loop who's contributing. We appreciate it. Teki was immense. Jam said he's put on his bomb the 11th yet and had to win the last round, saved the fight, and he battered him, took the nod. Yeah, absolutely love that. What a war. The knockdown, and it says, was super. Round 12 was emphatic. Yeah, love that. Love when a fighter gets... It happened in a British fight. Esserman against... who was it the other week?
Congo. So Chris Congo?
No, he fought.
Here's a fight for you. I'll tell you a fight to watch. So when Amir Khan boxed Scott Lawton in Sheffield, still to this day, probably one of the best fights I've ever seen live. Yes, my brother was involved, but not because of that. It was the English super featherweight title, and the champion was Stevie Bell. He's an actor now. He's been in Coronation Street and stuff. And obviously my brother Femi. And he knocked my brother dead in the first round. I didn't think he'd get back up. And he managed to, it was like Tyson, Buster Douglas. He got his gum shield back in and he sort of wobbled about. And then he got a second wind halfway through that first round and he boxed to orders and won the next 9 rounds. He won the English title 9-1, but it was an absolute war. But when I say he got knocked dead, I'm on about he fell face down, didn't put his hand out to stop himself. I thought, oh God, it looked like he'd been shot and then came back. You can't beat fights like that when there's knockdowns and stuff like that, because it gets your adrenaline going watching it, doesn't it? And that's what the Takai Higa fight was. Wow, end to end.
Yeah, brilliant. David's undisputed fight. Matches Fulton in the Fulton's moved up to 126, I think, David. There's no atmosphere in Japan, which is fine. The energy and the buzz, I love it. I actually love that. The atmosphere in Japan, even though it's very muted, I think it's respectful.
I don't mind it because the fights are normally good enough, so you're not interested in the crowd. The British and American fights, the crowd make the fights because they get big reactions from punches, but then other elements, you can get drawn in. So a punch can hit the gloves, you know what I mean? A shot gets blocked, and it influences the referees, or it influences the way you think the outcome of the fight. The Japanese fights are very similar to watching it sort of in COVID times in Eddie's back garden. You can hear the punches, you can concentrate more. I don't mind it. It's a bit like a library, but the fights just make up for that for me.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
take the respectful Japanese atmosphere over what we're getting in Saudi every day of the week. I know that's talking about Saudi.
Yeah,
I'll take fans that applaud both fights, applaud at the end of every round, and you'll hear the ooh if something happens. But I take that respectful atmosphere over everything else. Fighters, if they're getting paid enough, as we've seen with how many are going out to Saudi, they don't care where they're fighting, what the atmosphere is like. They just want the best fights. And fans have to place the box.
I think we said it while we're on the live. For Doheny to walk in as the away fighter, 100% of that crowd, other than Doheny's team, were against him. But to not walk out to raucous boos and people slinging boos on you and spitting and swearing and trying to grab you and telling you you're going to get knocked out, that sometimes can mentally affect a fighter. It can knock their confidence, or it can. I've seen it before where they've started interacting with people in the crowd, swinging at them or swearing at them, and it takes their focus away. Doheny was just able to walk to the ring, get in, compose himself, and box. We even saw a bit of a change from Inoue, didn't we? He was high-fiving people on the way in and smiling. It wasn't his normal stoic self. But I said yesterday, didn't I, that he looked a little bit different. And that fight was closer than it should have been for me. And I don't know whether he, like we said, Liam, took his eye off the ball, underestimated. I don't know, but it was off.
Yeah. Just before I just want to highlight what you've been talking there, Jay, about Jams put something in here. And I think it's a good talking point as well. So Cruel Mistress is saying to, likes of John Joe Finnegan, Nick Blackwell, Eric Skoglund. Obviously, I think his was he when he fought Callum Smith?
Callum Smith,
Eric Skoglund, so all about the guys getting paid. So do not envy that at all.
John Joe's my pal.
He is. Big up John Joe Finnegan, absolutely. Jabbit wants the link to that fight you're talking about, your brother.
I haven't got it. You'll have to go. So how I got it, and I didn't save it. It's on the Ricky. It's in the archives. I think it's the Matchroom archives. I'll have a look. I'll find it. I've got the fight poster somewhere. But it was Amir Khan, Scott Lawton. Tony Bellew made his debut on that card. Crawler boxed on that card. Who else boxed on there? Amir Khan, Femi. I think Kevin Mitchell boxed on that card. What I'll do is I'll put the fight poster up on my X in a bit, and then you'll be able to get the link. It's either Matchroom or what was she's called Kelly now.
Frank Maloney.
Frank Maloney. Yeah.
what were they called? It was
Maloney
called,
Promotions, wasn't it? Was it just
yeah,
Maloney?
That's just Frank Maloney, wasn't it? I don't know.
Just Frank Maloney. I'll find out who was Amir Khan's promoter when he came through. Frank Warren, wasn't it?
Yeah, Frank Warren had him at first, didn't he?
Yeah, so it might be in the Frank Warren archives. I'll put the post. I'll put the poster up. I'll send you a copy of the poster. Jab It Boxing, and then you can go from there. But I had to get it from the archives. I even went to, because I talked to Stevie Bell, and I asked him once. I said, "Have you got a copy of that fight?" And he said, "I can't get it. It's only in the archives." But yeah, absolute war.
Love this fight, Jabs. Kevin Mitchell and John Murray. That's one of my favorite fights to watch of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I know John well. I know John and Joe. So my brother was a stablemate of them at Gallagher's with Crawler, Matthew Macklin, Jose Burton, Alfie Burton, Arfemi, John and Joe Murray. I won't say Paul Smith, but I think Paul Smith came towards the end. But yeah, it was that was when John Murray was the man. He was the British, Commonwealth, European champion.
Yeah. I was undefeated. Oh no, sorry, Brandon Rios took his own, didn't he, in a world title fight? And then
he used his head as a shield, used his forehead as a shield, didn't he?
Yeah.
He'd left Joe Gallagher. He went back to Joe Gallagher for that fight, and yeah, I'm not going to dish Joe Gallagher, but I didn't think his tactics were the best. Let's just say that. No. John went into that fight underprepared, but love John. A lot of time for John.
Yeah, we'll go. So Ender said, been to Japan, the most respectful people in the world. Yeah, most definitely. David said, worst thing about it, his back got, that it was annoying as anything, that the corner just cheering every last thing because there was no crowd. Yeah, completely agree with that. Jabs said Hatton TV, I boxed on one of them shows.
No, it's not Hatton TV. Sorry. I keep saying Hatton. I was sat next to Ricky Hatton. That's why I was sat randomly. I was sat between Frank Bruno and Ricky Hatton. At ringside. No, Hatton was there.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were getting. Look at the talent that's on show now. Frank Bruno and Ricky Hatton had no idea.
Yeah, it was Amir Khan, Scott Lawton at the Nottingham. I think it was called the Ice Arena then.
Yeah,
about 2000 and I want to say 2010. We'll be able to get it though, because I got it from the archive, so we'll be able to find it.
Yeah, definitely. Just wrapping this little bit up. Jam said, love John Joe, such a gent. Fought on the Froch Boutain card in 2012. I'm in a WhatsApp with him. Yeah, he's a legend. He's always interacting with everyone on Twitter. Is John Joe? Yeah, legend. Ender said, awesome. That was about you talking there, Jay, about being in between Bruno and Ricky. And then David Corner said he spoke to Tris Dixon about his career. John Murray, really good interview. Yeah, definitely. For
2007, sorry, 6th of October 2007.
Jeez, rolling back the years. So, anyway, we'll go back to pound for pound before we go into the latest boxing news because there is so much news to cover. Thanks for all the interaction, everybody, so far. I'm going to start with my top 3 pound for pound. I have Alexander Usyk as number 1. I just think that the victories he has and the fact that he's outsized massively in every single one of his fights, and he wins his fights purely based on skill. And saying that, Inoue is outsized in his fights too, and he's more active than Usyk. But I just think that Usyk's signature wins at the moment hold a little bit more weight. Not literally, because I know he's a heavyweight and Inoue's a super bantamweight.
He's done it over 2 divisions, really.
Yeah. Saying that, Inoue's a 2 division undisputed as well, but
the weight divisions are not as strong at the lower weights. We spoke about this, us 3, didn't we? Yesterday, I think that it's. I need to be careful. I'll say this, but the lower weight divisions are similar to the women's divisions. There are fewer elites, so the gap between domestic and sort of world title it's easier to bridge that. It's quicker. You can do it quicker. Whereas the heavyweights and the cruiserweights and sort of 4 or 5 weight divisions down, it's saturated. So the fact that Usyk has not just dominated, he just decimated 2 divisions. He's had one, maybe 3 or 4 close fights. He had the WSB final, didn't he? That was close-ish. Derek Chisora ran in pretty close.
No. He had the Bradis fight in the semi-final. He absolutely schooled Murat Gassiev in the
semi-final. Was close.
In Latvia, he fought Bradis in his backyard.
Didn't look amazing against Chisora, whether he played possum or not. It was a hard night's graft. Tyson Fury's given him a hard night's graft. Inoue's sort of breezed through everybody. You know, I'm not dismissing his accomplishments because he's third for me, but you have to solidify Usyk as number one.
Inoue's beating what's in front of him, which are very talented fighters, but Usyk's beating better fighters. It's not Inoue's fault that Usyk's beating better fighters, but you can only beat what's in front of you. But yeah, I'd imagine, and said, man in the top three are the same. The order's just different. Cruiserweight was strong when Usyk was in it, in my opinion. You had Murat Gassiev was an absolute killer. Maris Bradis was all these guys were in their prime, and everyone said they weren't too good after Usyk had been done with them. But Usyk did, when Cruiserweight was very, very good back in those WBSS days. He did beat and fight some good fighters. But then it's weaker now. It's definitely, you got Opataya and Billum Smith are the champions or whatever. But
that's a bit dismissive of our world champions there, Samuel.
What? Who?
You didn't use. Yeah, Billum Smith. I think he's a good champion. To be fair, I think.
No, I like Chris Billum Smith. He's a good fighter, but he wouldn't survive in that Bradis, and you got me on the hook. No, he wouldn't survive in that WBSS against.
No, I mean, the cruiserweight for me has always been a funny division. You get your Johnny Nelsons, your Marco Hooks, that sort of your anomalies, but a lot of them are sort of small heavyweights or people that can't cut it at heavyweight that can cut a bit of weight and come down. It's light at the minute. I'll give you that. The
reason it was put in the World Boxing Super Series is because at the time the Sauerland brothers were doing that, it was one of the strongest weight divisions, and they always said we will pick what we deem to be the two strongest weight divisions each year, which is going to that tournament. You had to pick cruiserweights at that point. There was so much politics stopping the fights being made that actually took that tournament to bring that division together, because that division was a mess. None of the champions were fighting each other. They were all skirting around having gimme fights. It took the Sauerland brothers creating the tournament, bringing everyone together to make that division as sexy as it was at that period. Because otherwise, we never would have seen it. Usyk still would have done what he's done, I believe, but it would have been a longer route. He would have had to fight.
It was harder. A springboard for him as well. It put him in front of a lot of eyes, didn't it?
Yeah,
a lot of people didn't know who Usyk were really until he.
I love that tournament. That was a great format by Callis Allen, wasn't it? Yeah, I agree with David said.
That's where he started going on the roads, and that's where he got his taggings.
Bam Rodriguez chat in the comments here, boys. Jam saying some people have said Bam Inoue at 3.
Yeah,
Bam needs to get
anyone. I don't believe that he's boxed enough and long enough. What is he, 23?
Yep.
He's 23, 24, isn't he? He's got
for me, to make pound for pound, you've got to have 5 or 6 world title fights. You've got to beat 4 or 5 current or former world champions. Bam's done what, 3 or 4? Was it?
Yeah, well, he's beat obviously Estrada last time out, wasn't it? Chocolatito, did he fight? Was it Chocolatito?
Yeah, Sonny Edwards as well.
So listen, he's up there.
And Quadras, he beat Quadras too, didn't he?
He's in my top 10, Bam, but he's not top 3. He's in my top 10.
Yeah. Not top 3. Absolutely not.
Yeah, so I think we're universal up on here, and most of you guys are the same too. Most of you guys have Bam at 4 as well, from what I'm seeing in the comments here. Just a bit of cruiserweight talk coming up about Evander and David Hay. Absolutely, 2 legends of the cruiserweight division. Absolutely love. Yeah, Saul Rungvisai, that was it, David. Yeah, he did. He beat Saul Rungvisai. Gave him WBO's super stage, which forced AJ into facing. Yeah, that's right. He had on the WBO, you have the option, don't you? If you move up, you can challenge in the weight above. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, David, that forced the hand of Matchroom and AJ at that time that Usyk got the heavyweight championship of the world shot, and he's never looked back, has he, since? Crawford in trouble by that criteria also. For me, the thing going against Crawford is inactivity. Like he's just not active enough for me. He'd leapfrog them all if he fought Canelo at 168 and beat him, but But he has to land that fight. Never mind, win it. That's a different.
Crawford's fought 5 or 6 former or current world champions.
Crawford's
so on that criteria, Crawford makes that list.
I don't think Crawford's body of work's as good as the other two. I don't. I think Spence win is one of the best wins in the sport of boxing. How easy he did it and stuff. Like, that's a better win, maybe individually than Inoue has, but Inoue's body of work over a period of time.
Can I say something very that I've been called out on for a very unpopular opinion? But I always said that Spence was overrated. I thought he was very basic in his skill set, very good at what he did, but very basic. And the second he came up against anybody that could box anything other than basic, he got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Kell Brook had him in all sorts of trouble. If he hadn't broke his eye socket, I believe that fight could potentially have gone. Not saying Kell would have beat him, but I don't think he'd have got Kell out of there.
Kell's a good fighter. People don't respect Kell Brook enough for
he got ruined by Triple G, didn't he?
Ruined him. It was fed to the Lions. It was fed to the Lions.
If he had, but listen, he had to do that, change his life. He's a multi-millionaire off the back of that. But looking back, legacy-wise, as a 147 fighter, Kell Brook would have mixed it with them all. I don't think he'd have beat Crawford ever, but the likes of Spence and the rest of them, I think if Kell had avoided the Triple G and not got his eye socket smashed in, we'd have seen a totally different legacy for Kell Brook. Because to do what he did against Sean Porter in the middle of the night in California, Sean Porter was the boy then.
Yeah, he was for sure.
I think Sean Porter's very underrated for what he's done. For me, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, I think Inoue's up there too.
For me, there's two things just quickly with Kell Brook. He was never the same after Golovkin smashed his face up, and he was also never the same fighter after his leg was slashed up in Tenerife.
Yeah, you're right, Liam. Forgot about that one.
His leg got completely slashed up. He fought Jojo Dan and Frankie Gavin. Went into the Golovkin fight after Eubank lost his pen, as we all know, and then after that he ran into Spence. He still had a good go, didn't he? He had some good fights. I mean, to take this Crawford fight during lockdown when no one wanted to travel to America and put himself in that bubble, never should have taken that fight without Dom Ingle for me. That's my personal opinion. Not being with Dom Ingle played a massive part in that fight for me. I think he still would have lost, but he gave himself even less of a chance. But for me, his greatest night was against Porter. I remember staying up for that. It was fantastic. I don't think his leg, he always thrived off of how he could bounce around the ring, didn't he? I don't think his leg ever fully recovered from being slashed up either.
He was a lot more flat-footed after that, wasn't he? And just had to rely on his
fight. But actually, look back at those, those scumbags that attacked him when he was just on his family holiday after trying to help be a good Samaritan, help people out. If you believe the story details, I'm sure there's more to it.
There's all sorts going on about that story, but we'll
move on. Let's carry on with the pound for pound conversation, please. I live way too close to Kell to be throwing shit.
So Ender said Crawford has the thinnest resume, but he's still number 3. We're looking at the divisions now. David said about 160 is very thin at the minute. Janabek's got a couple of the belts. I'll move on to Janabek.
Troy Williamson, don't worry about 160, mate.
Yeah, Troy Williamson's back. The Trojans. I agree with 168 as well. Canelo's got 3 of the belts. Skull's going to fight for the IBF against Shiskin, I think. Benavidez moved up. Morel's up. Yeah, 168. The marquee division of boxing for so many years has become incredibly weak for me, David. I agree with that. Spencer's overhyped, made so much money after Crawford K. Yeah, what's going on with Spence? I don't know.
I don't think he'll box again, me.
Yeah, I'd be surprised as well. I'm just going to move on to the boxing news topic after the rest of these comments are going to get through. Yeah, I know. We'll be here all night, but we love it anyway. Jam. Jam, we're going to come on to this one, mate. It's on my agenda about the Boots purse bid. Yeah, I've got wind of that, mate. Yeah, we'll definitely.
Where your mouth is, Eddie. For God's sake, this is meant to be one of your marquee signings, and you're losing out.
It's going to be very interesting what happens with Boots.
Did he lose it by 25 grand?
250 grand. He lost the first bid by. Yeah, we'll come into that shortly. That's a bad read of Spencer and overseller Brook. Maybe we're biased. Sometimes we are. I think his out-of-ring activity messed him up. Spence was never the same after his crash. I think that's the case as well. Yeah, he definitely Jams echoed that as well. And has said, agree, probably with the oversell on Spence comment. Fair enough. Crawford number 3 for Hawkeye. Yeah, I think for me too, Hawkeye. I've got anyway 2, Usyk 1. And then the last one before we move into the news. Spence was a pound-for-pound ring-rated champion for years. On paper, that will always look better than Inoue's, Butler, or Tapale's win. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that win for Crawford over Spence, like we just said, is better than any of Inoue's wins. But Inoue's constant, consistent body of work against the elite fighters, for me, puts him above Crawford in the pound-for-pound rankings. But anyway, we'll be here all night with a pound-for-pound.
Yeah, let's move on, boys.
Let's move on. We're going to go back to Jam's comments. First thing on my agenda for the boxing news of the week. So it come out a couple of hours ago that Matchroom were outbid by $250,000 by P2M Box, who P2M Box, who promote Karen Chakadzian, who Boots has already beat. I think it would have been a rematch, but his Boots is IBF mandatory challenger at 147 pounds. What does this now mean for Jaron Ennis? Like, I'm not going to lie, DAZN, Eddie, Matchroom, they're not going to allow Boots to fight on a P2M Box promoted card. There's absolutely no way in hell that happens. So does Boots vacate? What's Eddie putting such a low bid for? You know, all these questions that need to be answered. Jay's Fight Talk, what's going on?
Do you want my honest opinion? I think Eddie's realised that he's messed up. I think he's slowly realising that there's no one for Boots to fight.
147's dead at the moment.
147's dead for him. I don't think he's big enough frame to jump up to 154. Right? We saw Crawford not struggle against Madrimov, but didn't look hella comfortable at 154. Didn't look the 147 Crawford. His slick movement wasn't there, and I think Ennis is smaller in frame than Crawford. I might be wrong on the stats, but he doesn't look
I don't know.
Naturally massive guy. I don't think Eddie Hearn is as confident in him as he makes out. And I don't believe
it seems weird, like to lose the unless they kind of just didn't want it and they were like whatever then. And then Karen Chakadzian's going to fight the number 2 ranked guy or whatever, because Boots isn't fighting him now. There's no way. And there's no way he's going to take a non-title fight at 147. So for me, Boots Ennis, it could be fighting at 154. He could be back in with a Boachuk fight potentially or something like that.
I mean, if Eddie can't make the fight for him at 147.
He said that they offered Boachuk the fight, didn't he? In his interview the other day, he said they've offered that fight.
That's a good fight.
I think the first thing for me, if I'm Boots Ennis, is I'm calling up Eddie Hearn and saying, what the hell is all this about? This effort to bring me across. You sold me the dream. You're going to bring big time boxing back to Philadelphia.
Unless it was pre-agreed.
I'm going to be bigger than Rocky. You know, fantastic. Yeah. That's the dream. He's been sold. And then the first purse bid, you can't be asked to outbid my mandatory who I've already beat before. You doing essentially? That would be my first.
There's more to it. There's this strategic.
Sure there is, but
do you think it's premeditated, Sam?
It's premeditated all day long. There's no way that if they wanted that fight, they'd have put enough to make it on DAZN. There's no way.
We all know it's not closed purse bids. You can tell us that it is.
God, Well, I'll come into another case of that in a minute. On further news about a purse bid and how you know they're not.
It's as though Eddie Hearn and the team didn't really want that fight, and maybe they've just bid on purpose. They've lowballed it, and they've got an alternate plan. Because for your poster boy, because let's be real, all Eddie Hearn spoke about for the last month is Boots Ennis, and all his social media is Boots Ennis.
All his interviews, everything.
Even if he's getting interviewed about, we did the live on Sunday, early hours of Sunday morning. It at some point brought that back round to Boots Ennis.
When he was asked on Thursday.
Yeah. So I think I'm sort of in agreement with Sam and Liam that I don't think Eddie's been that bothered, and I think they've lowballed because. If he was bothered, he would never have lost that purse bid.
No chance.
I'll say this. It's a dangerous game to play, though, because let's be honest, Boots Ennis is not a superstar yet. He's not someone that's going to bounce up to 154 and demand to be in the biggest fight.
Everybody's clambering to watch it.
It's a dangerous game to play. And there's a comment, Sam, I'm sure you'll come to it in a minute, that I can see that's come through the fight. DJ Pat's put up there, just wanted to touch on quickly. Eddie's talking about his next fight being in Philly. He said that before he lost the purse bid. So they obviously thought whatever they were going to bid was going to be enough to get through this fight. That's now not happened. So Eddie's this one here. Eddie's big comment saying, okay, my card is going to be in November, is going to be in Philly. I'm going to have Ennis defending his belt against his mandatory, and I'm going to have another big world title fight. Well, that's just blown up in your face now.
That ain't happening, is it?
That's fun. So
you know he's going to end up.
It's a mess. The whole situation is a mess.
You heard it here first. He's going to end up fighting someone like bloody Hank Lundy, somebody from around that area.
You know what? You're probably right, but like he would get an abnormal amount.
Oh yeah.
I'm with David. I'm just sorry, Jay. I'm just going to go for a few because there's a few good points in the comments here. Pat said Boots going up and to 154 to drop his belt. The bid and what Matching did was cheap. We do get. The level up to 154 for me, absolutely. I think we all had the same top three. I think that's universal, and definitely. Boots versus Crawford. You know, imagine if they just pulled that off. You know, stranger things have happened. I doubt it, but you know, stranger things have happened. I've been told Eddie put 1.5 in P2M box, bid 2 million, 53k to win. That was breaking news. So it might have changed. I've seen 250k, which now could mean UK pounds. Yeah. Either way, it's a big discrepancy, Jam, isn't it? Definitely. Boots versus Crawford. That would Havertz. That Kai Havertz. Oh no. That would.
Kai Havertz.
That would. Boots versus Crawford. That would. It's probably that won't happen, but autocorrect, I'd imagine.
I think.
Sorry, Lynn. Go on.
I think that fight had to be at 147 because that fight at 154 for me is you're not seeing the best versions of both those fighters. And okay, it's fantastic we see that fight, but there's no world title on the line anymore. It's not it's not a unified division, and it's not getting the best version of both fighters for me. They're both weaker. They're still quality operators, but they're both weaker at 154 than they are at 147 for me. That may be controversial, but that's the opinion I'm of. They're both at their best at 147.
I agree.
Got to remember Crawford started at 130, so to be at 154 now for Crawford, that's a huge jump, and it's starting.
And he took Madrimov shots well as well. You know, he didn't look overawed in there or anything. Fundora Spence was rumored for ages. Hawkan, it was, but then it's kind of gone cold now, and it's looking like maybe Crawford's going to fight Fundora. And then David said Ennis ain't fighting Karen. No way. Always makes me laugh. His name's Karen. Step up and fight Madrimov or Boachuk. Sign me the hell up for that undisputed fight talk, David. Get me involved. Either Boachuk or Madrimov for Boots. That they are hell of a fight, both of them.
I'm sure Karen sounds better in a German accent as well. I'm sure we're doing it.
Absolutely. Ennis throws the paper title away. He ain't going to Germany for this rematch yet. No way. Jam's in hell. Is he going there? I wouldn't want to bet on a Karen rematch. No chance. We've covered that one off, Pat. The email belt, as it's known yet. Devin Haney had the email belt at one time. Eddie is trying to crack America. His US successes have been thin on the ground. He's doing better, I think, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. 100% Jay. Eddie could have bankrolled that gimme for sure. Hawkan said Boots Ennis fighting Philadelphia on November 9th. Will not happen now. What will Matchroom do on that? For me, Boots is going to go on the Saudi card potentially, and Fury Usyk. They could maybe do that, but I don't know unless they get a huge 154 name in Philly. But Boachuk could do it. I think. I don't think Madrimov would do it. To be fair, I think Madrimov will fight on the Saudi card on Fury Usyk. Don't know. What do you think?
I don't think we see a Philly card now in November. Eddie
was so buoyant.
Eddie revealed too much last week. They were obviously confident what they were going to bid would be enough for those purse bids, so he's happy to reveal plans during the pipe works. But you can't go to Philly without Boots, and you can't now have that fight without a world title attached to it. So,
no one's going to want to see him boxing a nobody, are they, in Philly?
You don't want a 10-rounder that hasn't got anything on it. A bit like when Andre Ward had his few 10-rounders, didn't he? When he was before he moved up to fight Kovalev, but Andre Ward had the star appeal. You could put him in Oklahoma against his nan and he would have drawn 20,000-30,000 people out there. But Boots, unfortunately, isn't that big of a star yet. He's getting there, but you can't do it at the moment with him. He's still trying to
What did he do? About 10,000 against Avanesian, was it, or something? He sold it out, didn't he? Oh, it's close.
15. I think 15 was
15,000. Yeah. So that's big. That's big for America.
You say that there was a lot of comps. I know somebody that went over there, not for that, was over there working and went to the fight. They got a ticket like that on the day.
Yeah.
So they were giving out a lot of comps and a lot of discounts. But 15,000, I mean, that's a lot of tickets to sell for anybody, really, other than the sort of superstars. And they don't really get, Canelo gets draws, for example. I know he's not on Canelo's level, but he gets the massive draws against a massive opponent. You can't. Canelo, you stick him in with anybody, he's not necessarily going to sell 30,000 tickets. I don't think he would now, because Canelo's star seems to be sort of fading, contrary to what they'll tell you on online. Boots has got to get a big fight because he will not sell out the likes of York Hall against the likes of hammering Hank Lundy or Tevin Farmer or someone like that.
You love that fight, don't you? You're big on the Hank Lundy fight for Boots.
I'm promoting that for, but Hank, I'm on a percentage, mate.
Yeah, you are.
Mate, what's the presser?
Eddie's bankrolling Jay's Fight Talk for the Hank Lundy fight. Jay, do me a favour, get it on the No Punches Pulled show, will you, mate?
I told you, Eddie. I told you I'd do it, Eddie.
Oh, love it.
Just one thing while we talk about selling out arenas. Canelo, and this is your area, Jay. Canelo has always been very clever marketing because he fights on the two biggest Mexican holidays in the year. He fights on Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day holiday. Yeah. So that draws Mexicans into Vegas as well. So even when he is fighting underwhelming opponents, like we're seeing with Berlanga next weekend, because it's a holiday, because it's a celebration and it's Canelo, it unites the whole country around him. So they go still. So he markets it right as well. How often have we seen Canelo's career, especially in later years, him fight in November, December? Think of Kovalev, can think of Rocky Fielding. Can't think of many other times where we haven't seen him on the two Mexican holidays for the last 5-6 years now.
December. Callum Smith was a December fight because I remember it, but yeah, he hasn't fought.
Obviously with COVID as well, though, he hadn't been able to get out. That was that 2020 year. That was obviously
Caleb Plant was a November fight as well. But I know what you mean. Like his standard schedule is
markets for the holidays, so even he can make up for the shortfall of an opponent by the gate.
Jams is saying there, Madrimov or Bahanchuk. I love those fights for him. As I said, though, for me, I don't believe he'll do much at 154. I'd like to see if his power translates up an additional 7 pounds. And he works a lot on speed, don't he? And, I know it's only half a stone, but it's a lot to carry when you're used to sort of sweating down to 147. I think they would be very risky for his first fight at 154. We saw what happened with Crawford at 154.
Crawford's a little different, isn't he? He went in and he went right to the top. I don't care if Madrimov was a 10 fight.
But what I'm saying is we will find out if Boots, they're all telling us he's on the level of Crawford. If he goes in against either of those at 154 in his next fight, we will actually see them, won't we? Because he'll have to do.
We'll be honest, yeah.
Or at the very least, something very similar to what Crawford did.
I'm with David here. Make Ortiz versus Boots. Let's get that done. One of you boys, for me, I'm trying to think. Matchroom show, which was due to be Boots, wasn't it? November the 9th.
You want to see it?
Will not happen. What did Matchroom do on that date now? Who knows? I wonder what date this alleged Golden Boys Riyadh season card will be on.
Weekend after this.
The 16th, is it? Okay. This November 9th, do they add an extra UK card in instead or something? But no, I don't know.
It needs to be nice to see an extra UK card, wasn't it? That's the conversation we've been having. It'd be nice to see a bit more Matchroom UK cards.
They're stuck now. They're stuck. Matchroom, Eddie, Boots, DAZN, they're all stuck now. They're in a corner. They have to make a big fight now. They can't do I love David Avanesian. I love every single one of his team. I'm not disrespecting him. They can't do another David Avanesian fight. Obviously his mandatory's no more. Probably he's not going to fight in a rival promoter show. He has to do a big fight, and it's more than likely going to be at 154 pounds, which is it's a killer's row at the minute. 154. Virgil Ortiz, Serhij Boachuk, obviously Crawford, Madrimov, every single one of those, they're ridiculously tough fights. Can he get them over the line? I love it. David Boachuk chases all the smoke. That guy absolutely loves it.
Yeah, he does.
Jam as well. Jam's a real one.
Want to see fighter. He loves it.
Jam loves Boachuk. Yeah, he's a real one. Boots versus Virgil at Philly. Yeah, Oscar won't do it, Jams, but I would love to see that one myself. Absolutely. Canelo filled the Cowboy Stadium when he beat Saunders.
I was on Cinco de Mayo, though. So, again, that was on a Mexican holiday. So
it was Cinco de Mayo. You're right, yeah. Don't see Belanga as underwhelming, though, guys. 22-0, 17 cases. Live dog in that fight, although I take Canelo to win. I don't know. I think he'll get his first KO since Plant in that fight. Adam Hurley, thanks for joining us, Adam. Madrimov would be smoked by Boachuk. He's afraid to take serious punches. Wouldn't even throw a combo against Crawford because he's afraid to get countered. Crawford still messed him up. I don't know. Maybe a little bit harsh on Madrimov there. I thought he fought a good fight. The gate weren't as good as Mayweather. Yeah, definitely. Tom Loeffler's confirmed Boachuk for the Fury Usyk 2 card. I saw that, Hawk, and then Eddie Hearn came out and completely contradicted Tom Loeffler. He said in an interview with IFL after the fight of the weekend, Diego Pacheco, he said that that's not true. So, it's an interesting one. Whoever's telling the truth out of Tom Loeffler and Eddie Hearn, I guess we'll find out when the full Fury Usyk undercard's announced. But Eddie said no. Tom Loeffler said yes. Hopefully Tom Loeffler's right because I want to see Serhij Boachuk on the Fury versus Usyk undercard. They ain't got nothing else for Philly, have they? No, absolutely nothing. There's nothing that can happen there. Big up Dan Evans. Thanks for joining us, mate. The UK schedule is not looking overly bright, I have to be honest with you. There's a few decent domestic kind of scraps coming up, but yeah, it's not on fire outside of the Riyadh season card, obviously. I thought Keir Stammer had banned boxing. It's been dry since it's been PM. Yeah, that's a fair shout, actually, David. Yeah, I'll give you that. Ben's back in the rankings. Boots versus Ortiz on the Fury Usyk 2 card. Yeah, do you know what? Sign me up to that, Dan. Absolutely. I would love to see that one. Magnificent Sevens are the best cards at the moment. We're going to get Liam Davis versus Shabazz Massoud on another Magnificent Seven card. What do you guys think of Eduardo Nunez moving up to the lightweight division? Nobody wants to talk about him. It's duck season. I think he'll fight Kakachi versus Warrington, winner Adam, before he moves up to 135 pounds. The guy's knocked every opponent out with a KO. He's an absolute problem. Jams knows it is an absolute danger. We did the watch along, didn't we, boys, to the Sugar Nunez fight on Saturday night. He's a killer.
Animal. Scary. He's a problem.
Whilst we're still on the Boots topic, boys, just one more thing from me. When you look at Boots, and obviously if he's now back in the corner and has to move up to 154, it's what he's got to do. But I'm more surprised that he doesn't want to go for that legacy of unifying the division. Okay, it wouldn't have done it in the same quality that Crawford done it with beating Spence to bring all the belts together. But surely it's better to, build yourself up, unify a division, then go up as a unified champion when you've got more experience than jumping in with these killers when you're still at world level. What, you fought David Avanesian? That's hardly, no offense to Avanesian, that's hardly preparing you for the world level of Madrimov, Crawford, Baranchek, and everyone there. I think there's a massive discrepancy that if he decided to stay at 147, it would probably help him.
I know what you mean, definitely. I think we'll find out in the coming days. I think Eddie Hearn said in that IFL interview I watched as well, they're going to get Boots fight announcement in the coming week, and that was on Saturday. So they're going to have to be moving some pretty quick negotiations at Matchroom HQ this week. Dave said that Sugar Nunez is very good yet. He really is. He's going to, in my opinion, do a job on the winner of the Kakachi Warrington fight. I think he's just too big, too strong, too good. Dan, we hope it's going to be Sam Goodman in December, mate, for Inoue. Hoping it could be MJ in Vegas in April because Bob Arum said that his next fight would be then after that. But I'm not too hopeful of that fight. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd love it to happen, mate, but I don't think it will happen. Anyone getting sick of Warrington getting so many title shots after losses? Most definitely. He's won one of his last 5. So, yeah.
I've been sick of Warrington for about 5 years.
Yeah, he's only on the card because he's going to bring 15,000-20,000 down from Leeds, and Turkey wants the attendance record, in my opinion. Adam said definitely Jams. Knock the hell out of Miguel Mariaga. Yeah, one tough man, Mariaga. Me and the boys covered that one for sure. Boys, I want to move the topic on from boots now. I watched an interview last night with a certain guy. You might remember his name. His name was actually just brought up a minute ago. He's not been seen for a while, though. His name's Billy Joe Saunders. He spoke to Adam Cattrall and Spencer Oliver on TalkSport yesterday for around about 15 minutes. He seemed in good spirits. He's talking about Louis Edmondson versus Ben Whittaker. I think they're in negotiations for that at one point. But a lot of chat around. He said he was in deep negotiations for a Eubank Jr. fight. He's got a hell of a lot of weight to shift. Any interest in the Billy Joe Saunders comeback, either of you?
I mean, I'm always interested in Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, on his day, he's one of the best naturally gifted left-handed boxers I've ever seen. He's absolutely amazing. Unfortunately for Billy Joe Saunders, he talks a better fight sometimes than he actually gives. I actually picked him to potentially beat Canelo when on points.
He fought great against Canelo till he didn't.
Till he got smacked in face. I think Billy Joe Saunders is coming back out of boredom. And I think it's the wrong reasons. He looks in horrendous shape. I mean, Billy's always sort of put weight on in between fights. He's never been one to sort of avoid a cream cake. But he looked massive.
He looked huge. Then pictures of him with the dogs, like that was...
I thought they were AI and they're not. They're real. And I'm not trying to be funny there. I actually thought they were. When I first saw him, I thought that's not Billy Joe. You know, like they do it with Ruiz. Haven't you seen the one with Ruiz where
Ruiz with the AJ body on him, looking shredded.
Or they do one where they'll put a six-pack on him and then slim legs. I mean, I'd like to see. I would like to see Billy Joe fight Eubank again, just to prove to Eubank that he's better than him, to shut Eubank up, because he's dined out on I won the last 6 rounds and I won that fight. And when we know that wasn't how it went.
Yeah, the build-up would be mental for that. I think that could get ugly in a rematch.
But I believe the way Billy is at the moment, like you said, something crazy would happen in the build-up at the press conference. I dread to think what his son would do to Eubank. Remember when he punched Willie Monroe in the nuts?
Yeah.
I think his son's box. He'll be about 16 him now, so he'll probably stick it on Eubank.
Probably crack him.
Both sides of the spectrum. As a fan, I'd love to see Billy Joe come back and give it one last push. But as somebody that's been involved in boxing, not for me. You've made your money, Bill. You've got nothing more to prove, brother. Not for me. Don't get baited into a comeback.
I think the big thing for me is the last time we saw him was, I think it was the 8th of May, 2022. Regardless of all the weight he's put on, regardless of everything else, that is a long time now. So by the time he gets fit, we're looking at probably mid to late 2025, we see him back in the ring.
Comeback fight as well.
Hey, that's not going to do him any favors at all that time out of the ring. Regardless,
35, is it?
Be 35 by next year, regardless of. Okay, I'd love to see him shut Eubank Jr. up again. Obviously, the first fight I went to was at the XL for that cards, and I saw him fight Willie Monroe as well. Love seeing.
To watch him live, I saw him. I saw him beat. It was when Tyson Fury was meant to fight Ustinov. Do you remember? And then it was going to be Ustinov, Chisora. No, he was meant to fight Chisora.
Gary O'Sullivan, Spike O'Sullivan.
Oh, he boxed an Italian kid, the European champion. Is he called? I met the kid at the weigh-in. He was lovely. Didn't speak a word of English. Begins with B. Let me find it now. But I watched him.
Well, what about his performance against David Lemieux as well? Like that was unbelievable. That was a schooling.
This is the thing. He delivered some of the best moments at a time where, before we got AJ delivering fights. Yes, before we get an AJ fighting at Wembley every other year and things like that, Billy Joe Saunders was Britain's flagship world champion for a period of time. And like we just said, that new performance, what he done against Willie Monroe were all outstanding performances. And okay, he got beaten by Canelo. There's no shame getting beaten by a future Hall of Famer at all. And he gave a good account of himself that night until his face got smashed up and he didn't really have anything left. But to come back now, it will be 3 years out of the ring by the time we see him again. He would have to lose, 30, 40 pounds looking at him now? He looks like he could go in at heavyweight and give Tyson a scrap at the moment. I just wouldn't want to see it. You're only going to tarnish the legacy he created for himself. Yeah. good or bad legacy that he has, he's only going to tarnish it. And let's be honest, do we need Billy Joe back with the direction boxing's moving at the moment, with some of the things he was saying before, with some of the controversies he got himself involved in? I'm not sure we do. I'm not sure if we need to have him back.
I think we'll see him get back due to money. Jay Jam's giving you a bit of help with. I think you found him anyway, didn't you?
It was a fight before Eubank. It was a fight before Eubank Junior for the European. He ended up being on the main event.
Dan says can't see Billy Joe coming back yet. We're on the fence about it here. Hawkan said that if that gets that's not announced yet, I don't think, but it should get announced. Sonny versus Galal, which would be really intriguing as well. Yeah, really intriguing fight. Who smokes Kakachi? Who does Kakachi smoke? Sorry, I'm assuming he means Warrington. BGS needs to shed so much weight. Yeah, he really does. He's incredibly overweight at the minute if he wants to box. He wants a Eubank Jr. rematch. He does, Jams, because there's so much money in it. He needs to shift some blubber. Yeah, he definitely does, mate.
I'm with you, Jams, mate. I'm with you there.
Mate, Eubank look good again, which he ain't. This trash fellas BGS is finished. Yeah, I think so, mate. Eubank would smoke Saunders, Dan. Yeah, I think he would as well. Eubank versus BGS, no thank you yet. Completely agree. Much better fights to be made. It'll just be it'll be carnage to build up. It'll get very ugly very quickly. Kakachi smokes Warrington yet. Dan's agreeing with Jams. I take Eubank to win with Saunders' weak jaw. Yeah, absolutely. I would too. Where are we up to now? Adam Hurley said Eubank's just farting around, getting the ring, dude. Yeah, he is.
He's built a career off of it, for God's sake. He's built a career off of farting around and saying all the big names.
Fighting, what is it, Liam? The third best Polish super middleweight in his next fight or something. Eubank Jr. is the fakest boxer in boxing. Lives off daddy's name, just fuck all by the Smith rematch and the old man. Smith was injured in that too.
Jam's on it tonight. Love it.
Yeah, Jam's on fire. Love it, Jam. Keep it coming, mate. Saunders wasn't a ticket seller. Leisure Centre World Champion fight. Yeah, he did actually. That fight, he looked. Was it? What was the one where Ben Davison cornered him and he looked absolutely terrible? Was it like Kurt Seedade? You know, the one who went to jail. Remember?
Was it Stevenage? Wasn't it? That was an outdoor show.
Yeah.
That was Kurt Seedade. That was.
And he went to jail afterwards or something. The name Billy Joe was giving it him in the build-up and all that. Yeah, it was.
But yeah, on that, not being a ticket seller, when I saw him fight Monroe Jr. at the Copper Box, I won it as a Box Nation runners-up prize behind a Golovkin Soul glove. Turned up that night to collect my tickets, and when I say there was 100, 200 people with the same bit of paper to get their tickets, that's not an exaggeration. He was, unfortunately, not a good ticket seller, but that was also at the time where Frank Warren wasn't marketing shows well. You wait until midnight for main events, different thing. That was the night Dubois won the WBC youth heavyweight title, where can't remember who he fought. He flattened him in the first round, completely flatlined him. Had to get the stretcher in the ring. Can't remember who that was against, but that was right back at the start of Dubois' journey as well. 2017 again shows how long it was that Saunders was the world champion. That's 2017 we're talking about.
I know, yeah, it was crazy. He just gassed in that fight though. It was his first fight with Ben Davis.
O'Hara Davis has already come out. Sorry to cut you, lad. O'Hara Davis has already clearly stated that interview was taken out of context and that fight's not even been negotiated.
Yeah, so Hawkan said O'Hara Davis posted fake news about the fight. He did, and then he went on a big rant about interviews and stuff. I just can't warm to O'Hara, I really can't. And then Dan said...
I asked him for an interview once. He said he won't give any out, but yeah, wasn't well received.
Yeah, no. Dan said he dismissed it. That would be a good fight. Adam said, in all seriousness, what's the hold up with Adam Azim? Yeah, we'll come into that then. Why not? So Harlem Eubank signed with Wasserman, did he? The Sauerlands promotion. So he'll be fighting on Channel 5 on those kind of fights. Adam Azim and him squared off in the ring. Was it on Wardley versus Clark?
Wardley Clark, so March 31st. So
March 31st, then thanks for that, Liam. Yeah, on Wardley Clark. They squared off when Adam Azim was European champion. Dalton Smith was mandatory, and they clearly swerved the fight. Whether it was the right fight or the wrong fight to take for Adam Azim at that time, he was European champion. Yes, he was 21. Yes, he'd probably given up a few advantages to Dalton Smith at that time, but they ducked the fight, plain and simple. They didn't do it. They vacated. Dalton Smith was meant to fight John Fernandez, but it's off now. And then they squared him off against Harlem Eubank, saying they were going in a different direction. And here we are on the 3rd of September, almost 6 months later, and we have no announcement for Adam Azim versus Harlem Eubank. So just a mess, really. It's a bad look on Boxer, bad look on Azim, the McGuigans, everybody involved, really.
So Harlem Eubank's done an interview today with Boxing Social, just announcing his multi-fight promotional deal with the Sowlands, as we've just said. And he said he got a call on the day of the Wardley Clark fight to be in London 4 hours later to square off in the ring with Azim, which is what we saw. The date he was given was the 15th of June. He stated that he was deep into camp, and then the fight got pulled because Azim picks up an ankle injury, which we've discussed. We didn't know there was an injury involved. He went back into camp 2 or 3 times. He said that multiple fight dates been put across from Sowlands, and they've all just been turned down. So he's been in training for this fight for most of this year, and he's now, by the sounds of it, getting radio silence back from Boxer, which they just can't seem to catch a break, can they, Boxer? Everything from their prize assets fighting out in Saudi to this situation with Azim.
It's gone from one extreme to the other in sort of the space of a month. We had Ben out in was it America last month?
Yeah, for Bacoli Anderson.
Giving it the big one. And you know, it was all systems go. We've got some big fights lined up, and there's a lot coming. And then, damp squib, we've got nothing. We've got fights not getting made, negotiations breaking down, no cards. You go on the website, there's nothing on there really.
Yeah. Philip Smith will probably fight on a card at some point, but it's there's really nothing going on.
Have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, Jam's on about O'Hara there. Yeah, he said about the no smoke boxing's Lee put out the post, and that's what O'Hara replied to, saying he's not doing anything.
Well, he missed Willie, because let's be honest, he's an hard guy to like. I rate his boxing skills, but he's an obnoxious prick. He's an obnoxious prick. Some of the stuff that he says, I will say this: the shit that he got for the newspaper comment to Fowler was twisted and wrong. They twisted it. He didn't know about the Hillsborough thing. He didn't know about that, and he didn't mean it like that. And Tommy Coyle got involved, and he twisted it, and he got a lot of shit online, which he didn't deserve. Matchroom dropped him. Pulled it around. He won the golden ticket or whatever he won, didn't he? He won the golden contract.
Oh, yeah, golden MTK, wasn't it? MTK.
You know, he's just an hard guy to like because he says some disgusting things sometimes. He's a bit of he comes off as a bit of a prick.
He's just a diva. He just throws his dummy out the
he pulled himself round, didn't he? And he sort of humbled himself and did some decent interviews. All bollocks. Complete.
Leopards don't change their spots, mate. Eventually.
I think somebody had a word. Prince Patel tried it. I know they're different ends of the spectrum, but he's another gobshite that tries to sort of talk himself. He's the leisure centre world champion, if we ever want to talk about one. He's the Eastern European leisure centre champion.
Mate, but he's dominating cards in Zanzibar. Leave Prince Patel alone. The man's on fire. He's the Hungarian.
He fights in Hungarian leisure centres like I've never seen, mate. He is the IBWZF in the world.
Yeah, he is. He's a WBX featherweight champion of the world.
ABC back to front world champion. He's a sausage, and I did say that, Prince. If you want to fight, I'll fight you, kid. Only because I'm 10 weight divisions above him.
I've just seen something from Boxer that I want to bring up once you've gone through these comments quickly. Something that's just been announced.
Go through these. Clearly a doc. Can't see Azim Eubank happening, but surely now Boxer working with Matchroom. Why not make Dalton versus Azim? That's the fight, Dan. But ultimately Azim and Boxer don't want it. That's what it seems from the outset. Anyway, Adam said tell Azim to get in there with Keyshawn. Yeah, well he did call it, didn't he? Keyshawn at Wembley, or wasn't it, or something like that? Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, Barry McGuigan got in his ear about that one. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Dalton would dismantle Adam Azim. Yeah, I think Dalton's a little bit above that level of Azim right now. Not to say Azim can't get there, but he's too green at the minute for me. Azim's, didn't he throw away his belt in it to avoid Dalton? Yeah, he did, definitely. Got done by 41-year-old Ishmael. Yeah, he's talking about O'Hara, Jay, obviously, for what you were referring to. 41-year-old Ishmael battered him in January this year. Yes, what they said, made a Eubank announcement without a date. So, yes, go on then, Liam. Let's talk this boxer news.
So, we're talking about the demise of Boxer and their team in no UK shows coming the rest of this year. Ben Shalom has been on TalkSport whilst we've been on here. He has stated that Ben Whittaker is going to make his US debut in December and will headline an American card.
Well, that's interesting because they've got the Peacock deal in America, don't they, Boxer? They actually have a decent broadcaster in the States.
Yes, but sorry, can we just rewind a second? A UK boxer that is a prospect, you are going to get to headline in America. Am I missing something here, boys? Or?
Yeah, against who? I mean, if he said, yeah, there you go. I told you we'd get him a fight, Hank. We're on it, mate.
Come on, pay him.
If you are announcing, if you're going to announce that, you've got to have a bloody opponent and a good opponent. It's got to be for something. You can't just say he's going to headline a show in America against TBA and expect everybody to get excited about it. That's a slap in the face to the UK boxing fans.
I tell you what, Eddie got a lot of stick and a lot of shit for putting on Conor Benn in that hotel in Vegas, didn't he, back in February? What the hell's Ben Shalom going to do? Hire out a corridor or something? Because he's not going to. If you're in Ben Whittaker against TBA,
no one's going to watch it.
He's got no American. At least Eddie Hearn had some American fighters that he could put on the card. He put on Hamo Williams.
Liam, yeah, with Eddie has a profile in America himself, so he can kind of like sell a little bit of like if he's putting on a card. Eddie Hearn's promoting it. Okay, he's not massive in America, but he's got a bit of profile. Ben Shalom's got zero profile in America, so if a boxing card goes on.
Ben Shalom had to make sure he had his ID on all week when he was over for the Red season card, didn't he? No one knew who the fuck he was. Which is, he's still his name.
First day at school.
Never mind that. Nobody knows who Ben Whittaker is, let alone Ben Shalom, and he's meant to be the headline. Headline where? The foyer, the Hulu.
Dan reckons. Sorry, Liam. Dan reckons that could be the Zerdo CBS card, which is a fair statement. To be fair, if they do that,
isn't that meant to be 16th of November though? The Golden Boy one.
Well, yeah, I guess anyway,
it's an absolute mess.
It is.
If we're honest, it's an absolute shit show.
Yeah, Pat, you're right. Ben Whittaker headlining US. Ben Shalom rolling the dice here. Yeah, even if it's not in Vegas, he's definitely having a bit of a gamble on that one. Ben Shalom. Peacock, a pretty low rent streaming service. HBO, it ain't. Yeah, absolutely. God bless HBO Sports, and wish they were back in the sport of boxing. Zerdo Ramirez versus Ben Whittaker could be fun, but Liam Cameron's coming first. To be fair, Zerdo's up now, isn't he? Zerdo's at cruiserweight, Jam. So Ben Whittaker's at 175. Zerdo's got a belt at 200 pounds. Yeah, couldn't see it being Zerdo's CBS. It'll be Jam. So yeah, just anything else to cover on that, Liam, or will I move on?
I literally, as I was just putting out that we're still online, I saw Shalom's done something with TalkSport, and that's what he's come out with.
That's an interesting development. Ben Whittaker in the States. I don't really get it personally, but we'll see what comes of it.
He's not built over here. Yeah, he's still Marmite in the UK. Never mind trying to break him in America.
Absolutely. On the subject of TalkSport,
man, he's all right.
I know. On the subject of TalkSport, I want to get your thoughts. Turkey was on with Simon Jordan and Jim White yesterday. I listened to the full interview, but I don't really. This isn't about the fights. This is about the pay-per-view price point and stuff like that. So Turkey come on and said that he's illegal streaming and he wants to make boxing more accessible to everybody and stuff like that. So the Joshua fight versus Dubois is going to be at £19 and $19 in the States or whatever it is. And he's come out and said that Beterbiev and Bivol is going to be £15 and $15. So he's trying to make boxing more accessible to the masses to avoid the illegal streams. I'm just going to go to this comment quickly because it made me laugh.
I wouldn't know anything about illegally streaming.
Ben Whittaker to headline a leisure centre in the US.
In the Apex, we might get a few people.
Not in the UFC Apex yet. And said talk show. Why did TalkSport get on so well with Ben Shalom? I don't know. That they seem to push the agenda.
So Simon Jordan has, I think he's got a mutual friend through somebody that we work with at Crystal Palace. There's something. They've got a mutual friend. But he's on there at least.
From the start, they've done radio for every single boxer event since they've been with Sky. So there's
I listen to TalkSport. I'm a bit of a TalkSport nut. It's all I have on in the work car, to be honest. And they do some pretty good boxing coverage.
Can't forward. It's called their Fight Night show. It's fantastic.
It launched. Adam Cattrall. Adi Oladipo started on there as well, so it's a decent profile, and they do talk sense on there.
But it looks like they're afraid to be banned from
Whitaker in the
fights,
Holiday Inn. Definitely. Sky have shares in Talk Sport or Talk Shite, whatever it is. Yeah, so that could explain it. But just back onto the price point then, boys. What do we think about this? Is it coming from a good place? Is it coming from? Is it all over everybody's eyes?
I think he's just trying to throw the British fans a few crumbs to keep them their mouth shut while he takes all the big fights to Saudi. That's what it feels like to me. If he were that bothered, he's got that much money. Don't do pay-per-views then. Don't charge us for it. If you're that bothered about British fans and you're taking all the fights over there and you're paying all the big bucks and you've got all this wealth and all this money, then just make it free to view. Why feel the need? If you're going to drop it to 20, 15 quid or whatever, what's that, a tenner off? They're normally 25 quid out there. Or do a 3 for 2, buy one, get one free or something. Because 15 quid for me is still too much when I'm paying 120 quid a month for Sky anyway and 60 quid a month for BT, and then I'm paying for Netflix and I'm Disney and do you know what I mean? I spend 250 quid a month on TV. To watch UFC and a couple of boxing fights, and then I've got to pay pay-per-view on top of that. Oh, and $24.99 a month for bloody DAZN. It's a lot of money.
Look, you're going to get.
I feel sorry for the poor people, but me and Turkey don't have to worry about stuff like that, do we?
Realistically, we're going to get another 5 or 6 pay-per-views before. We know there's one on the 20th of December, but we know there's at least from next weekend with Canelo. There's at least 5 more before then. That's just for us in the boxing world. We know we're going to shell out for a few UFC ones as well. On top of your DAZN subscription for a minute, to then shell out for another 4 pay-per-views. I don't care if you make it $1.99 for the pay-per-view. I'm paying my subscription. Why am I now paying extra? Okay, Fury Usyk stands on its own. That is undisputed heavyweight. There's a separate conversation on that. But why am I paying pay-per-view for the top wrap for the Golden Boy card?
Right, because 12 months ago, Eddie Earn promised us that all fights on DAZN would be inclusive of your monthly subscription. He said that more than once, and then all of a sudden now we've got 3 or 4 pay-per-views a year. It's a lot of money. You know, it's a lot of money to pay anyway, 20 quid or whatever it is a month for the app on top of your other streaming platforms.
It's not sustainable long term to it's right. Yes, you're getting the best fights, but if you're doing it every single weekend, which it almost is in September, and you can't complain about the quality of the fights because they're definitely there. But
it's a lot of money, man.
That's
why people are allegedly illegally streaming.
And that's the thing. We were speaking last night, weren't we, about the boxing lineup just in September alone? But two of those cards are pay-per-view, so Canelo and the Wembley cards. On top of that, you've got Channel 5 involved, you've got DAZN involved, you've got TNT Sports involved. Forget the fact that there's the pay-per-view fights in there. You're bouncing around so many different subscriptions. Thank goodness for Channel 5 for it being live and free, but that's one fight night out of everything else. Everything else, you either need a DAZN subscription, a Sky subscription, or TNT. And that's on its own is probably it is 60, 70 quid before you even pay for the 2 pay-per-views, which are both $19.99. The Canelo Berlanga has been confirmed at $19.99 as well, but it's still too much.
For me, I think, and I think we were having a discussion later one night on the app, and I think I mentioned that I see Riyadh TV will launch at some point in the next 6 months.
That's why he's getting so cozy to the zone, Jay. He's getting all cozy in with the zone. He wants to learn about the production.
What I think is you'll be able to buy maybe a subscription package, an annual subscription package. So you don't have to buy the actual pay-per-views, but you've got to buy Riyadh TV for, let's say, £10 a month. And for that's your bolt onto your DAZN for your pay-per-views. It's another paywall, isn't it? But I think we're going to see Riyadh TV or Turkey TV or something.
I wouldn't be surprised if I agree with you, mate. We're going to see some sort of Uncle Turkey TV when he brings his Super Fight League together. I wouldn't surprise me if it's in partnership with DAZN, because what you got to remember is even these Frank Warren cards, and Frank Warren is Queensbury, he's TNT, the chief broadcaster is always DAZN. TNT, if you ever see their box office feeds, they are going with DAZN graphics, sometimes the DAZN commentators. They're literally just
their production. It's all their production.
They're just facilitating the pictures. If he's going to make a move, and I'd be all for it going to DAZN. I pay £24 a month. if every single fight that we want to
On
watch
there.
is on
Yeah, me too. I cancelled mine a couple of months ago just for the simple fact that I was barely watching it, other than the odd fight that was on there. And then as soon as they started putting pay-per-views on there, I refused, and I punished myself. I missed a couple of decent fights because I'm not the type of person to illegally stream, allegedly. So, but then I've had to buy it again, haven't I, at 25 quid a month because I missed it. So I dropped
kill you not watching it. I'd rather be homeless than not watch it.
I had to buy it back. I just had to renew my subscription. I lasted a couple of weeks, man. I was fucking devastated. But
you made your stands, mate. You had to give in. Good on you for making a stand.
I was making a stance, and then as soon as I put
and then Eddie Hearn started bankrolling you for a Hank Lundy fight, and he's back in the zone. Eddie's got him a free subscription.
It's just
2% never looks so good.
It is not free. It's $24.99.
Right, big up Jab at Boxing, who's back with us. Thank you, Jabs. It's a massive cash monopoly. I agree. Pay-per-view's dead. And says, remember, absolutely, it's dead. Pay-per-view is dead. I love that Turkey's putting pay-per-view down the price. Jams, DAZN started to stop pay-per-view now. Look, £20. Yeah, all good, mate. And I said anything not pay-per-view is fairly thin. Yeah, I agree with that. There's the Magnificent Seven cards and stuff like that have been okay. There's been a few decent ones, but majorly the big cards are all behind a paywall.
It should be one or the other, Sam. They should either have DAZN like it was originally, say $5 a month, right? And you get your free to view on there, and then they can justify charging 20 quid for a pay-per-view. Charging 25 quid a month, and then it's 25 quid for a pay-per-view, and there's 8 throughout the year. It's a lot of money, man.
Well, it's ridiculous. It really is. Jam saying, you're having a bad day when you get Ben Whittaker and Chris Billum-Smith mixed up. Bless you, Jam. No, don't be silly, mate. It happens to the best of us. I've had about 15 nightmares in the hour and a half we've been on, mate, so don't worry. I paid for it all, Jay. Yeah, it's costly. It absolutely is.
250 quid a month. She can't hear me, can she? I don't think she can. She does not know that.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not making them numbers up. 120 for Sky, 60 for BT. Then I think I've got to pay an extra for the sports on it because I have my internet through them. Then I've got my DAZN. So yeah, it's a couple of £100 and some, and that's not including Netflix, Disney Plus, all the other bloody and Xbox.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely silly.
It's sickening. It's sickening.
Yeah, I heard that, Pat. There was at one point. Seems to have gone quiet now, but yeah, there was definitely rumours of Turkey taking over PBC.
I think one day he'll just buy them all. I think I'm still subscribed to Box Nation, mate. I was one of the original.
How good was Box Nation back in the day? Barry Smith.
You could switch it on at 3 a.m. and you'd get Prince Nassim Hamed against Kevin Kelly, or Ricky Hatton versus John Thaxton, and just random fights.
Then you get the random Russia cards every Friday night that would come on. You'd always be something on.
I mean, on subjects of Box Nation TV, that's now free on YouTube. I'm pretty sure they've got a card in a couple of weeks.
Umar's doing the interviews with them on YouTube.
He's there fronting up presentation, but I'm pretty sure they've got a card in a couple of weeks. So again, at least that's free. At least all you need to do is go on YouTube and you can watch that for free. At least there's no cost to that. But it's such a saturated market. We lose.
I think the No Punches old show would look good on Box Nation. To be fair, Uncle Frank. I think we look good with brand, Box Nation branding and a nice retainer.
Nice T-shirt, hoodie. Whatever you want to give us.
Come on, Frank.
It's $99.99. Walk-on, 100 quid for the annual Super Saver on DAZN. Do you not get any offers from Sky? You can if you threaten to leave with Sky.
I'm a salesman for a living, so but I can't be asked spending an hour on the phone haggling over something that's overpriced anyway. So even if they give me a discount, it's still overpriced. If I'm honest, I've only just started paying for it. I actually won a TalkSport competition a couple of years ago, and I won free Sky for a year and a signed glove that had like Joshua, John Cott, had loads on it. Anyway, and I managed to blag it for 3 years before I had to start paying for it. So I think the fact
you're up then, you're up.
You're playing,
I'm paying 120 quid a month for a full package.
I hope Sky aren't in the chat.
No, allegedly that was. But I can handle it. But, what am I going to get off? 20, 30 quid, and it'll just creep back up. So, it's overpriced anyway.
Enzo, Mac, Barry Jones, and Bunsey. What a team that was on Box Nation, Jam. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
I love Steve Bunce not having a clue what's going on, talking over announcements and all sorts. He's flipping brilliant, Bunsey.
Yeah, Bunsey.
You know what I also think happened with Box Nation? If you remember when it first started, Frank Warren wheeled out the Rainham Steel owner. It was about 115. I think he died, didn't he? And I think he was bankrolling it a lot, and Frank didn't want to take it.
Yeah, he was.
You know the guy I'm on about, don't you? The big guy with the glasses.
Rainham Steel were a sponsor at Queensbury Show for years. Always on the camera.
Yeah.
Always.
You don't really see them now, do you? And I think
32 Red or Futsal, and one of those two I remember sort of came in.
And, I might be wrong, and I don't mean this like I know Frank's business, but it seemed to sort of coincide with that guy dying. Yeah, he's a legend. So when I won the glove, it had loads of random people on it. It had like Nathan Cleverley, Tony Bellew, Anthony Joshua, John Conte. It had Carl Froch, George Groves. I gave it to my friend's son for his birthday. But yeah, that's how I got my Sky. But John Conte is a British boxing legend.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. Steve Lillis as well. Just seeing Jam's comment. Steve Lillis was always on those.
Yeah, Steve Lillis. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what a team that was. Hawkins discount on pay-per-view on DAZN as an annual Saver subscriber.
Hey, I have that as well, but it's £1. You get £1 off a pay-per-view, and when you're doing 8 or 9 a year, it doesn't. It's not really. So when you're paying. When it was $24.99, when it was $24.99 for Usyk Fury, I would pay $23.99. So I can pay $18.99 for Canelo next weekend. But when you're doing so many pay-per-views a year, it's flipping nothing, really, is it? What does it add up to? A couple of pints at the end of the year?
Oh, no,
my missus is not watching this, man. She's going to kill me if she knows how much money.
I hope she's not subscribed.
It's all lies. It's all lies.
Yeah, it was fed. Where's Max Kellerman going? Pat, because I like Max Kellerman when he was on HBO. Where's he gone back to? I'd be interested to hear that because he's a good
ESPN now. I'm pretty sure he's over with ESPN.
Yeah,
he's got time to go.
Yeah, he's disappeared.
He does a show with the two. They do like a round table, don't they? On ESPN.
Yes. Paul Dempsey. Yeah.
That's the reason we're doing a watch on Friday, so we don't have to listen to him.
Yeah. There's only easier to navigate around the app with a new menu. And Sweden, Håkan and Pat are in Sweden, so it might be better saving for both of those boys, Liam.
Yeah, to be fair.
Big up Håkan and Pat joining us all the way from Sweden. Love that. Lucky no one uses fire sticks. And just says, I'll be honest, guys, there's only not a fan of Todd Grisham or Sergio Mora. I know what you mean.
And Sergio Mora is just so monotone, and he won't say anything that he feels.
What was the fight? There was a fight recently where Todd Grisham was. It was Bam against Estrada, and Barry Jones and a few of the other guys were commentating, and Todd Grisham kept telling them he's like, stop saying that, they kept saying something, but he was getting really agitated, and it's just he's slipping on the canvas or something. It was something little like that, and he was getting really it ruined the whole commentary of the fight.
Todd Grisham started to grow on me. At the back end of last year, he started to grow on me. And then this year, he's just gone back to being, sorry to any Americans in the chat, a typical American cheerleading commentator who would actually rather have on you. Especially if I think it's worse for us at 3-4 o'clock in the morning when you've got him.
Jam just hit the nail on the head there. He's like an old
and Glory Kickboxing as well. He was on Glory Kickboxing for ages.
Yeah, all over, isn't he?
He tries too hard to be like the Mauro. What's his name?
Mauro
Ronaldo. Yeah, he tries too hard.
Mamma Mia.
That's it. And it just don't work. Grisham, when I hear him, it makes my ears bleed.
What's he? Mauro Ronaldo off Wish.
Yeah.
That's insulting to people on Wish, mate. Never mind anything else.
Down goes Sonny for the first time in his career, despite being put down on a memory. He's put down on one of the Queensbury shows like 2 fights
He put him down, didn't he? What's his name? The mixed race kid, Braithwaite.
Yes,
Braithwaite knocked him down, didn't he? British title fight.
Yeah, and I said Timu now. Yeah, he's thinking
we're in the right ballpark.
Timu. Just a couple more things to cover, guys. We'll talk about notes after this subject, and then we have a little bit of a teaser at the end of the show. Janibek and Mikhailovic, the purse bid news was called today. No Limit, the Aussie-based promoter who promotes Mikhailovic, won it with $351,000 was the bid. Top Rank Janibek's promoter bid $350,000. So No Limit Boxing won it by $1,000. So
what is that?
I know you're telling me that people don't know the bids beforehand. Yeah, no.
I work in sales and marketing, right? And I'll give you an example. I quoted a lady today for an air source heat pump and a full central heating system. I said, have you had any other quotes? Well, I have, but I don't really want to give you that. I said, look, just tell me how much they've quoted you, and I'll give you the same package for the cheaper price. Now, we're not supposed to do that, allegedly. And they went in at 15.5. I went in at 15,495, and surprisingly, I got the job. So, to go in, I mean, unless someone said we need about 350,000, but it's meant to be sealed bids. No one's supposed to know. I remember
going to the headquarters, aren't you? Hand them in, and that's
an envelope. Hand them in. Do you know what I mean?
I've got to cut in there because there's some really nice. I think that's the comment of the night so far. That's absolutely amazing. We've got a few really nice comments here. So Dan, big up, mate. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that feedback.
I do a good job anyway. I'm pretty good at
Emma
that.
As well, mate. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate all the feedback and the interaction. That is top class, guys. Really appreciate it. Nice to see the legend Al Bernstein up with his own salute. So love Al Bernstein. He used to be on the UK Channel 5 cards at one point.
He did,
mate, those random Wednesday night cards that pop up in leisure centres, and Al Bernstein's on comms.
Yeah.
It's bloody lovely.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't outcall Moro on the top. Yeah, I love him. Mamma Mia, Maranello. He was on Showtime, wasn't he? He's doing the Amazon
with PBC now.
Have you ever seen the video where they Mirko Krokop, they make Mauro think that he's offended him?
Yeah.
That video. He nearly started crying, didn't he? Bless him.
Yeah. I actually thought we were going to see a man.
He actually suffers with severe depression and mental health issues.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Do the job that he does and consistently do shows. It takes a lot because that guy battles a lot of inner demons. But he's a legend.
Sure.
A lot of respect for him. Myself, always. Remember the first time seeing his story.
I'm laughing.
What were we talking about before?
Jake's Fight Talks undercut Billy Joe Saunders is the latest rumor. As saying Jay when has a dry line doing ceiling walls always undercut the ups. Absolutely.
Always.
Negotiation number one. Dimitri Salita, what a gent. Love him. Yeah. Throwing some practice in meat and war.
Back to no limit boxing.
Yeah, No Limit and Janibek. I was talking about. They outbid Top Rank by $1,000 US on that. So it's going to be in Australia. Janibek failed to make the weight. He didn't even weigh in. I think he collapsed via.
He wasn't allowed to, was he?
Governing
body wouldn't let him.
Yeah, so they're looking to get that fight back on, but the purse bid's been won by the Aussie guys by $1,000. But seems very sus that they magically have $1,000 more than Top Rank. But I don't know. What do you think?
One thing I will say about No Limit Boxing, I'm sure you saw Michael Zephyr's brother last week now being given a lifetime
ban him for life, haven't they?
They need to get better security. That's what they need first of all. Hopefully, they need that purse bid money.
I don't believe it. I can't believe he was allowed to get so close.
It's not the first time we've seen it in sidetrack. It's not the first time we've seen it on these Australian cards, have we? There always seems to be half a second too slow, and that unfortunately has bit them on the arse last week.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
It's a fight I want to see, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in America. It's a fight we'll get excited for. Let's just see how they get over the line. Because the Australian cards either deliver, or they're like your typical 3-course meal with your tables round and people having, it's no in between with Australian cards. They're either top end.
It's either raucous or a dinner show, isn't it?
So
exactly.
just on the subject of Aussie cards, before I read, Jam's comment, Janibek collapsed and knew he couldn't do the fight. He needs to move. Yeah, he needs to move up to 168. I agree. But it looks like he's wanting to stay and defend his unified belts. There's probably more money in it for him.
I don't like the fact he's being allowed to, though. If he's collapsing on the
I agree.
It should be taken out of his hands.
I'm not sure he's fighting Kambosos. Meant to be Zepeda, but it's not happening. Just announced Tim Tszyu will be competing against Murtazaliev for the IBF 154 belt. So that's another big deal in the super welterweight division that's just hotting up with Crawford and Madrimov and Boachuk and potentially Boots. Tim Tszyu could potentially get belt. Murtazaliev, I don't know too much about him, to be honest, but it's happening on October the 19th in Florida. What do you think, boys? I do love Tim Tszyu.
I do.
Yeah, I'm a big Tim Tszyu fan. To stay in that fight and only just lose for me against Fundora back in March with how bad those cuts were for him says a lot about the set of cojones the fella has on him. He's an outstanding fighter. He came through the proper way. He wasn't hand-fed anything. He had to come through. He had to make his name. No, it's how it should be, but we don't see it all the time. And
because when he first came through, I'm like, oh, here we go, Costa Tszyu's son, and he's going to get a ride. He's a rider, and he's
a hard man.
He's never avoided anybody. He'll travel, and he proved it before, but he solidified himself as a legitimate world championship level fighter. Because to come through what he did, like you said, Liam, and to make it dog tough and close, is amazing. So I'm really excited.
He's still a real problem on 154. People will sleep on him now because they think, he got beaten by Fundora. What does that say about him? No, Tim Tszyu is still a real issue at 140.
Yeah, for sure.
He'll give any champion a hard fight. He'll win belts back for me as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just going back to Boxer, Dan said the thing about Boxer pissed me off. Guys, they're supposed to upcoming shows. They have Denny versus Shiraz Baratsi Hutchison, even though it's not. Yeah, exactly. This is on their website and their Instagram, and they're not even.
Like the Wembley card is their own cards.
It's not their card at all. They just have fighters on it. It's a Riyadh season card. If anything, it's a Matchroom and Queensbury card because they have
co-pro on it. It's Matchroom and Queensbury with Gold Star. They're not even co-pro on it.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Messes like you, but I completely agree. I want to go on to next. Sam Noakes is fighting Gianluca Seglia on Friday night. You can catch us probably around about 10:30 p.m. for the main event. I believe we're doing it. The boys will confirm me right now if we haven't confirmed already. If we're going to be doing it, but we'll do the live watch along for the main event. In fact, Liam might be in attendance at the show, mightn't you? So you might be there in person. But me and Jay will be there. If not, anyway, all the three of us will be there.
Liam will be live streaming it through his
from the York Hall, European title fight. Noakes 14-0, 13 KOs, took the distance by Mendy in his last fight. Mendy, who famously beat Luke Campbell, he's been in with a few other UK guys too.
Mendy beat Seglia, didn't he?
Yes, he did as well. Yeah, that's a common opponent. Seglia has been stopped once in 4 defeats, only got 4 KOs in 21, so he's not going to pose a KO threat. But do you see Noakes continuing the big KO? He's not streak anymore, is it?
I think he'll smash him to pieces, me.
Yeah, I agree. And a common theme that I know us boys love is the fighter staying active. What the Mendy fight was May time, if I'm right.
Yes.
Went 12 rounds in April, May. Now he's back out in September. Touch wood, he'll get out again before the end of the year. This is what we like to see. He's got, and it's a legitimate European title. It's not one of the IBF or WBO sanctioning fees one. He's got the lovely blue belt that is a legitimate European title. So to see him carrying on his progression now is what we want to see. After this, what does he do next? I suppose you look to defend the European title again. I'd say he's still 2-3 fights away from going towards world level, but we knew Mendy was on his way out, but for name value and for a vacant European title, it's going to only do well for his career, and he won it unanimously.
He needed rounds. Sam Noakes.
I don't think he lost the rounds. So another fight, another turnout. He'll have a good crowd coming up from the South Coast, just like his brother got at the O2 last month, and
Yeah,
it'll do the business again. There's no danger in it. Unfortunately, it is a typical red corner versus blue corner. Red corner wins every fight type of cards. But there are some good prospects on it. We've got Luke McCormack having his second outing. We've got Stephen Kearns, the Irish fighter, under Dave Caldwell, who I've always been a fan of, been unlucky with injuries, that's back out again in his first fight for Queensberry on this card. There's some good prospects on the cards, but it's not, it's not really what we want to see in the UK. You can probably put a fiver on it.
I don't mind it for a Friday night kind of fight night.
Bad. It's like a next gen card, isn't it? Very similar.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will say, just going. Sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned the McCormacks. I'm a bit underwhelmed by them two. They're not boxing enough for me, either of them, because they're both world class talents, but they just don't fight. They should have had 10 fights each by now.
This is the thing. This is Luke McCormack's second fight. He made his debut on another one of these York Hall cards. It may well have been when Noakes won this European title that he made his debut. In fact, I think it was.
Not active enough. Neither of them are. Neither of those two brothers, because they are world class. But I do believe that they potentially have made a few quid outside of the ring, and I just don't believe that they don't seem hungry for me. I think they're sort of playing boxing. They don't seem all in because they don't seem to be clambering for fights. You don't see them on socials much. Yeah, and they're not active enough for me. I'm interested to see what kind of performance we get, and then what he says he wants to do, because he's good enough, or they're both good enough to be fast tracked through, and they're of an age. I don't believe that they're both young. I believe that they'll be in their late 20s. Are they?
Yeah, they turned over late enough, didn't they? Definitely. But yeah, just picking up a few of the comments. The demise of MTK scuppered them. Yeah, I think that's a fair point on that one. Murtazali would be a tough fight for you. Really like this. It's fantastic against Jack Cook. Yeah. Tim and
29 but they're 29
and
they're
old enough then. Like they're not prospects. Eddie Hearn's a snake. Boots shouldn't have signed with him. He's fared him as a promoter like all the American fighters. Yeah, it's not the most outlandish comment I've ever read, to be fair.
Eddie is a legitimate.
Big up, Jam. We should see you Friday night for that one, mate. Appreciate that. Noakes is a terrific boxer, most definitely. Segley is a tough man. Only been stopped once. Stoppage incoming, though. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Most definitely.
It's a statement. Stoppage.
It was what's his name that stopped him? Is it Yiggett?
Anthony Yiggett, can you dig it? Yeah, he just retired. Yeah,
I think that's who stopped him. I think he was unbeaten at the time, and he stopped him. Yeah, retired him. I think rounds. I want to say 6 or 7.
He wore him down, didn't he? Completely and utterly. And I could see Noakes doing something similar to him on Friday night. If he doesn't get the stoppage, it's either going to be the corner pulling him out or the ref jumping in and saying you've had enough, son. Because I think Noakes is going to be spiteful. He jokes on at the weigh-in for his brother's fight that if my brother performs well, then I need to outperform him in my next out, and have a bit of a good friendly rivalry. And he likes building himself up. And if that's what those boys need to do, then he's more than talented to perform at European level. It's just about now maintaining him. You don't want to push him too quickly up to world level when he's not ready, and it knocks him down, and we don't see him reach his full potential. These are the type of fights we want to see.
Sorry, boys. Newsflash. That's my joint bank account just been locked. She can hear me upstairs, I think.
Before we'll wrap up shortly, but before we move on from
sleeping in there tonight, mate.
Spare room for Jay's fight talk tonight.
Oh yes.
Sam Noakes versus Mark Chamberlain. Is it a collision course?
You'd like to think so.
Chamberlain's rumoured to be fighting Baranchik, WBO lightweight champion.
Talk about going in at the top. Yeah, but it is only rumours that at the moment, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. They're both with Queensberry. They're both lightweights.
I'd like Noakes against Chamberlain. They're both South Coast fighters as well. You can put that in Port. I believe they're tied to Portsmouth. I know Portsmouth-Southampton rivalry is a big thing. I believe they're tied to Portsmouth. You could put that on the South Coast for Noakes' European title. Absolutely no trouble at all. And I think it would serve both fights as well. Chamberlain going in against Baranchik, okay, it's a bigger fight. It's sexier. He gains more from it. But if he gets beaten, He's then got to build himself back up. There's no harm in taking the Noakes fight for me. I think it would be an outstanding scrap.
Oh, it'd be a phenomenal fight. It really would. I don't know who I'd pick to win that because I rate both of them really highly. I think that's a fantastic matchup. Yes, Jam Anthony, can you dig it? Yiggit stopped him. Yeah, love Anthony Yiggit. Great guy. Just retired from the sport as well. Been in some top fights.
That one from, but yeah.
Yeah, no, most definitely, yeah. Anything else to cover, boys, before we wrap?
Not
I think
for
Jay
me.
needs to go, mate. So I think we're around this one up.
Yeah,
I'm no rush now, mate. I'm not rushing to bed. Let me tell you.
He's already in the doghouse. No, we'll do a few formalities then. If there's anything else, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's been spoke about this week that we haven't covered off. Obviously, we did the watch along. We watched Diego Pacheco at the weekend and Sugar Nunes. Great win for Pacheco, especially stopping Selecki, being the first man to stop it with a tremendous body shot. Big up, Dan Evans. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Hopefully see you again for next week. We do 7:30, Danny. The Tuesday or Wednesdays, we kind of split it, but we try.
Appreciate the follow there, Dan. I'll follow you back there, brother. Thank you, man.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Thanks very much, and yeah, thank you, mate. You've been very interactive from the outset and throughout, so really appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much for tuning in to us this evening. Fantastic show. Big up Jam's Boxing Chat as always. Follow Jam's Boxing Chat and subscribe to Boxing Media Hub and Jam's Boxing Chat for the shorts over on YouTube. He's pumping out the shorts content. But big up and mention the sponsorship that Jay echoed at the start of the show as well. Any new and upcoming businesses, make sure there's a great opportunity there for a YouTube channel that has over 2,500 subscribers. One of the best in the space. DJ Pat, thank you very much as always, my friend. Always tuned in for a long time last night as well, Pat. So appreciate that. Go follow Pat, follow Dan, follow everybody else, Jab Ender, follow everybody on X. Liam, we have something that you want to leave everybody with.
Yeah, so be keeping an eye out on STBX, so Steve Talks Boxing socials channels tomorrow for an announcement regarding a new show which will be starting next week.
Woohoo!
That's what I'm allowed to leave it as for tonight. But there's been an announcement tomorrow for a new show starting over there next week. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay, so I'm sure we're gonna have a little bit of interaction in the comments about that. So we'll leave it going for just a little while. But yeah, obviously Liam's been teasing here we go. Liam's been teasing something for a little while now, so you can keep an eye out on the socials for the STBX YouTube channel, which is one of the best in the space. We've all been on individually, as of many of you probably in the chat as well. Steve's got a fantastic thing going on over there. Is that Tully talk? Is that the Tully's Tough Boxing Talk, Liam?
It's got a catchy name.
That's what Jam was trying to say there.
Yeah, I think
if I can decipher what you're trying to say, mate. But no. It's got a catchy name, but it's not Tully's Tough Talking Boxing yet. That is further down the line for me, definitely. But for the time being, I'm going to be sticking with these boys.
There we go, Jam.
Going on with Steve as well. Further down the line, it's been a crazy month for me since I first got involved with these boys. Still finding my feet and enjoying the ride. See what's to come. But I appreciate everyone's comments and support.
We all eagerly anticipate the announcement. Let me tell you.
Yeah, so keep an eye out on that. That'll be on X tomorrow. Just to give you a reminder as well, make sure you follow at Liam_Tully9. I got it right for the first time in my life tonight. Definitely deserve a round of applause for that. Jam said, "Big up, Liam, great stuff." Yeah, really excited for it. Jam, keep an eye out for that. Should be great. Liam's going to excel in everything he does. He's great boxing mind and a great lad. Big up Jay's Fight Talk at Jay's Fight Talk with his fancy blue tick on X and subscribe to the Jay's Fight Talk YouTube channel if you like me and didn't catch the fight earlier and rewatch the watch along the boys did earlier. That was a fantastic bit of content. As for what the three of us have coming up, we'll have the lives coming up that we do for the instant breaking news reactions. As mentioned, the Sam Noakes watch along on Friday.
Hello next week.
The schedule. Big up, Jam. Massive love for yourself as well, and Jay. Obviously, same thing there. We're going to be doing an incredible amount of live watch-alongs for the month of September. I'm just trying to think, Liam and Jay, off the top of my head. There's going to be lots of coffee being consumed. Liam, you might help me with this because we were having a good chat about it last night. So you've got Canelo Alvarez versus Berlanga. We're going to go pretty much the full card on that one on September the 14th.
September on the 20th. Well, early hours on the 21st.
On the Friday night, isn't it? The night before Joshua versus Dubois, which no doubt we're going to go the full card for AJ versus Dubois.
You've got Thomas Sombalomba, Charlie Edwards on the Friday night on Channel 5 the week after, before at the Copper Bosch with Johnny Fisher on the 28th. So that's
so you got
5 lives there before the end of this month, and then
Terry Harper, Rhiannon Dixon on the undercard there as well.
Start October with Nick Ball before Serbia Fivel. There's not 3 weekends between now and the end of October where you won't be seeing us 3 together.
Absolutely. Yeah, so much upcoming. Whether it's there we go. Just saw that. Tim Tszyu versus Murtaza Aliyev is official. Absolutely. So we've got No Punches Pulled. You can catch this show every Tuesday or Wednesday. It's not really a set schedule, but we either do it Tuesday or Wednesday. But the set time is always 7:30 p.m. The 3 shows we've done so far have all been an absolute success, but that wouldn't be possible without the interaction that we get. I know I'm still new to doing the whole thing as well. I'm halfway cutting through the boys off a lot of the time, but the reason we wanted to do this show, reason we're not about just the 3 of us talking, because we do it all the time anyway. We want to interact with absolutely everybody. That's why pulling up every single person's comment. We appreciate every single one of you that tuned in for the 3 weeks. Every week has been a success. And we'll see you at the same time next week, but it'll probably be Wednesday next week. We'll be doing Wednesday 7:30 next week, but we'll catch you around about the 10:30 mark on Friday for the Sam Noakes European title fight, the York Hall. Any closing message from you boys?
Just reiterating what you 2 boys have said. Follow these 2 guys. We eagerly anticipate Liam's announcement. Just keep interacting, following, liking, sharing, and subscribing. We love you all. We appreciate everything you do for us. Keep punching.
Yeah, boys. We appreciate everyone that comments, interacts with us, even if it's just a like. You're dropping our stuff, we're putting on X. We absolutely love it all. So keep it coming, boys. And it's
we do this for a number of reasons. We like talking boxing and fight sports. We're 3 guys that we talk off camera anyway. So we just thought, look, let's talk on camera, and it's been well received. So we'll keep doing this as long as there's an audience for it.
We ain't getting rid of us anytime soon. We're only going to keep going.
100%. Thanks for joining us for the first time tonight, mate. That means a lot. We really appreciate that. New ears to us is exactly what we want and appreciate. So really, thanks for that, mate. You've been very good and interacting all night. God bless you, Jams. Really appreciate that, mate. Can't echo enough what Jay said there. That's all. We do this for fun anyway. But the fact that everybody's tuning in and it's being really well received, it means the world to us. So we're going to keep pumping out the content as long as we're getting the nice comments from everybody and we're getting the viewership and that kind of thing. This is it's a passion of all of us. At the end of the day, we're boxing nuts. We absolutely love talking about it. The fact that the 3 of us are getting on like a house of fire and doing this kind of thing, couldn't thank everybody enough. But enough waffling now, guys. We'll let everybody get back to their nights now. Hopefully, I know we've been on for over 2 hours, so those that have been with us throughout, hopefully you're not in as much trouble as Jay's Fight Talk is. But God bless everybody, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 7:30 and catch you for Sam Noakes on Friday.
See you guys.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Love it.